Happy Monday, happy week, happy November. When the hell did that happen? Last week, I guess. Welcome to the show. This is Toy Grinds Live. My name is Grindhead Jim. We're here to talk about collecting and all sorts of other fun stuff. It's been an eventful couple of weeks for your boy, okay? Been pretty ill for the better part of the last 3 weeks, and I'm coming out of it finally. Thank goodness. Thank Godzilla. All hail Kaiju. And I'm glad to be back. I really apologize that I've been kind of absent, and I know that the last show that I did was not my best show, because I was sick, god damn it, right? But I'm here, and I'm not sick. I also have a sick guest. He's not ill, but he's sick in the head, and I love this guy so much. And I'm not going to waste any time. Y'all know who he is. And if you don't know who he is, you're about to. And if you don't love him, you're about to. This is my man, it's Chad. Say hello, sir.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, my man. I really enjoyed being on your show a couple weeks back, about a month ago, and I immediately was like, I want to spend more time with this dude. And it was just a matter of finding the right time, and when I'm puking out of both ends, it wasn't the right time. So now that I'm human again, we can move forward. I do want to stop by here and talk to our chat folks here. Got a bunch of people in here. We got World Made of Cardboard. We got Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures. Robert Infinite Realms. We got Epic Badger. And Gojatron and Keith Knight. I always love seeing Keith Knight. I'll tell you that much right now. And for some reason, this is not working on this thing. I don't know why it is. Let me try that again. Aha, there we go. Whew. Almost broke the shit. All right, we're good. So we got Keith, and we got Gamertech United. It says soon. Yeah, I was a little late. It was my fault. There were some things you just can't pre-do, and I had stuff to take care of. So we've also got in the house here the 13th Prince, probably one of yours. Welcome to the show. Jason Garcia, and we got Nolan and Johnny Sorensen asking, where them statues at? I got something for you. And you ask, do you like stuff? I love stuff. Do you like stuff?
Stuff is good. Yeah, I like stuff.
It's good. And we also have Squigs. Says, what's up, Jim? A lot's happening. That was the worst exposition impression I've ever done, I think. Daniel Kerhernian is here. Giraffe is here, as well as Aaron E. Nichols. Welcome. So,
yeah, a lot of familiar faces. Very cool.
Yes, indeed. How have you been, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm busy. Busy. Making videos and just doing my thing.
Just doing your thing. So,
yeah.
I mean, look, you might, even though you're just saying you're busy, right? And surely you are.
Right.
I wanted to just throw out a little shout out and because of the framing we have to go with the side by side, I can't quite see it on the screen for them, but I see it. Your missile command station, the custom job you did on that. Y'all, if you haven't watched that video, go watch it immediately after this show. Because first of all, it's one of my favorite custom videos I've ever seen. I got to
Wow.
understand a bit better how your mind works. Like not just like if you analyze someone's creativity, you're going to learn a bit about how their mind works in general. And
Like a bag of cats. It's just all
yeah,
over the place.
and
Yeah.
if I may say so, you took a very military approach to that. In as much as you had a rough plan, but you knew nothing ever goes as planned, so you were ready to roll with punches before anything hit.
Yeah.
And what I thought was going to come out and what did come out were two different things. You hit like what actually came out was about 35% higher of quality than I thought was going to happen. So I thought
Nice.
as it was, a couple paint, some stickers, it'd be fine. But you came up
Yeah.
with these crazy cool ideas of reusing parts and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about the acronym STEAL, strategically transferring equipment to an alternate location. That was rampant through that build. Is that something that you kind of stumbled upon as you started doing customs, or is this something that someone suggested? How did that start for you?
Well, you're a vet, right? I'm a lifelong military guy, so the whole like beg, borrow, steal, repurpose, it's just kind of something that we always do,
Oh yeah.
and that's just kind of how I've always approached customs. Like I'll get like a big pile of crap, and I'm like, I bet you I could greeble some cool stuff with this, and just what I showed in the video, and I appreciate all the flattering said stuff you said, but I generally just start with like a 70% solution, and then I kind of go from there.
Hmm.
There's been times where I'll get something done, and I just don't like it, and so I'll just delete it and start over. And that's I wanted to show that process because I want people to understand like making customs isn't like you have to have this bulletproof plan and this idea and smarter, not harder, right? You just need that 70% solution. And that's what I wanted to show. Like, I kind of know where I want to go, but I don't know what it's going to look like when it's done. And
Right.
I just had fun with it.
You clearly did, and I think it shows a lot in your editing style. Whether it's one of your rants or one of these where you throw in the little and all these different things. And I've come to learn that where you would put in a soundbite is different than what I would do, because I think your sound bites for you mean something different than some other people would.
Probably. Yeah.
Like, like sometimes I get the vibe that when you throw in one of those screams, it's what I would do when I throw in like a millennial doing, you know,
Yeah, probably.
because they're like, oh my god, what's he doing? You know,
Yeah.
would you say that's accurate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So again, I know that the vast majority, if not everyone here, knows who you are, and if you don't, click the link in the description. Watch his stuff. He's the best, and he's my friend, and you're gonna be your friend too by the time we're done tonight. So I believe this is a first for Toy Grinds Live. We've been doing this show in one form or another for over 2 years. I don't believe I've ever gone over pre-orders with someone else. And I have less than 20, more than 10 of things I wanted to talk about. And guess what? You're not going to buy any of them, Chad. I don't think you are. But I might find something that you can comment on. And again, my reputation is I show a lot of stuff that I'm not going to buy either. I just do it. It's fun. It's one of
Yeah.
those things that we do.
No,
So,
yeah, I love it.
so I'm going to direct your all's attention to probably one of the most clever pieces of kit I've ever seen. Because the very first time I ever heard the shredder, it was immediately followed with a kitchen utensil. And that just defined the whole original animated series for me. And it kind of made, like, the comic was harder for me to come back from after that. But this is a literal shredder with Shredder's head on it for 29 bucks. That's more than I'd want to pay for a cheese grater, but with the branding, you got to pay them licenses, I guess. Um, and here's the thing. This is just gonna be real, as the kids say. Um, if I needed a cheese grater, I'd buy it, but I don't.
Yeah.
But it's just a cool thing that you could do. Um, do you have anything? This is just one of those things where it's like they should have made this in the '90s, in my opinion.
It's kind of one of those like, Death Star or Millennium Falcon like waffle makers, and just
Yeah.
yeah. Us kidults, as the industry likes to call us now, they're like, well, these adults, adult man children, they need this wacky kitchen stuff, so we're just gonna make it. But shredder, cheese grater, haha, it's fun. Whatever.
It's clever. It's clever.
Yeah.
Now, for
I would
those of
not
you
buy
that
it, but it's clever.
right now, for those of you that are always whining and crying about the overpriced statues and whatnot, I got your number right here. Because not only is this something you might actually be interested in, but you'll see the price tag and cry. All right, now obviously I've got chat on the screen. You can't see the full price, but I assure you it's over $1,000. $1,030 for a space battleship Yamato, aka Star Blazers. Okay.
Yep.
Now this son of a bitch is 43 inches long and made of vinyl, and it says highly detailed. Now, what that means to me is that it's huge as fuck, and it just sits there. Is it impressive? You bet. Is it $1,030 impressive? Nah. No, it's not. Okay?
And it's vinyl. Like, you better have a good climate-controlled room.
Yeah, like Jim Largo down in Guatemala. That thing would melt on him inside of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And what I find almost criminal about this is the fact that there is a fan base for this. There's a lot of people right in our age range that love that show, that saw the Star Blazers miniseries back when it was like the American version of the anime. We called it Japanimation back in the day. And I make that distinction. I feel like anime before we called it anime is not anime. It's different to me because it had a different vibe. It had a different flavor. The drama was more intense, whatever. And then you go in and you actually watch the space battleship Yamato stuff, and it's like, oh, this is way better than a stupid. Like my favorite line in any English dubbed anime series is this, and I quote, because they have no lines. They just go, to cover that up. It's stupid. Yeah. But this exists. I don't know why this exists. I don't really know who it's for. But, okay, sure. Whatever.
A lot of money.
It is. And for that price, you better be giving me something better. Now, more in the reasonable price range of $32, we've got ourselves a Anguirus from Bandai Spirits, a little 6-inch scale guy. Now, I've got my Anguirus itch scratched, because I have one in my Mezco 5-point set. But if I didn't, I would be all over this. Right, because I love me some Anguirus. Do you watch Godzilla at all, Chad?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you familiar with who Anguirus is, who he is in the pantheon of Godzilla?
No.
He is kind of the Barney Rubble to Godzilla's Fred Flintstone in many ways. Kind of dumb, laughs at inappropriate times, rolls up into a ball and kills people. Okay, that last part, not so Barney Rubble. But cool character, a lot of fun, and again, I try to bring up things that people may have slept on because, like, a single carded Anguirus, like, people don't put big tweets about and crap like that. So, a couple more things to go through here because again, we just love torturing ourselves here. We got this Manzinger Z for $350 at 15 inches. Now,
15 inches.
Yeah, and he's got all kinds of movable parts, and he's a full blown figure. I'll give him that. We've seen Manzinger Z's that don't even pose and are smaller for more money. Now, if this were $100, $150, I might could dig it because when you compare that to, say, a Shogun Warrior version or something like that, the price is astronomical. But it's clear that whoever is licensing these out, they just don't care. And I don't know who. Again, as with so many things that we talk about in the show, who the fuck is this for? Like, who is like I got, for example, we got a guy, Jason Garcia. He has the biggest Godzilla collection of anyone that I know personally, and he has a lot of the SH Monster Art stuff, which are not cheap figures.
Right.
That I understand, because that's everything mingles together and stuff. What does this mingle with? Dust?
Mazinger stuff.
Right. But it's not like you see a bunch of. They're not like releasing a whole line of these, and if they are, they're not coming stateside because there's just not a market for that. It's kind of crazy, but I just, it's very distressing. Now, again, coming back down, in stock right now. Like, we thought these weren't coming until the beginning of the year, but right now, if you want the cartoon accurate He-Man Filmation Cartoon Classics guy, you can get him. And you can also get Beastman. Like, this is a thing. So if you're looking for these and you had them pre-ordered somewhere else, maybe consider grabbing them. That's something you're into. I know you're not a huge He-Man guy, but
I mean, I can still appreciate He-Man. I think that Beastman looks pretty cool.
He does. And that's the thing that I've been saying pretty much since they announced this, is that I feel like there's a lot of people out there that aren't hardcore Motu collectors that when they see these cartoon versions, they might get themselves a handful and just have a little corner of the room because they remember the cartoon better than they remember the show.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing at Brandon's
comment. Yeah. He says, you guys see that white bookcase over Chad's right shoulder? But it opens up into a giant room of classified. I heard Chad loves classified. He does not, in actuality. That's the joke. It's funnier because I had to explain it.
Right.
But now, I don't think we have any classified here. But also in stock, just for all y'alls that, again, you're sleeping on stuff, is the new Eternia Trapjaw, the Masterverse scale. This is arguably one of the best Trapjaws that have ever been made, sculpt-wise, in my opinion. He's beautiful. Yeah. When I saw him revealed this summer, I was like, damn. Like,
I'm a huge fan. Sorry.
No, you're good. Please. You're the guest.
I'm a huge fan of the 2002, or what people refer to as the 2000X, the Trapjaw from that one.
That's a good one, too. And I kind of feel like the new Eternia stuff they're doing is kind of like them getting to do like an homage to every era in one figure and still looking like a classic thing. And having seen all the new Eternia stuff that's come out, it's definitely one of those, if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have a lot more Masterverse stuff than I do the Origins. Because these are just, they feel grown up. And that's not a bad thing. And for the price, like, you can't beat the price on these things. $24 for a 7-inch figure that looks that good.
And the proportions on that figure are great. Like, you can tell he has robotic parts on him.
Yeah, it's all of the Masterverse stuff. I think is probably not as appreciated as it probably should be. But I always like to pull it up here and show people what's up. I'm gonna check it back in with chat here. 13 Prisoners. Gotta admit, made me look at the bookcase. TJC, thank you for stopping by the stream earlier today. It's awesome.
Yeah, he was streaming Gears of War 3.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I haven't played that in a minute. World Made of Cardboard says after Chad retires, he's going to get a call reactivating him for a special mission. Grindhead Jim will be his online informant. I mean, I got the chair for it. I got the guy in the chair going.
You are. Yeah, you're the guy in the chair for sure. That's all right. Let's do it.
For real. I'll take it. Sure. I mean, and also with my background of what I actually did in the military, it actually makes sense. So I see the narrative that you're building there, John. I'm with you on that. Like, I would gladly do that. That'd be fun. What if we did a series of like toy hunting where we say like, all right, so the mission is to find this, and this, in this square mile of an area in this amount of time. Go. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Your mission is to find all those crates of classified army builders that are going to go to Ollie's.
Which means all of them,
Yeah.
pretty much. And even though I collect classifieds, I totally see where it's going at this point. It's I won't hold my thought on that. We're gonna get through a few more in stock stuff here. So, if those of you that saw my Hush Mafex review of Superman, and we're kind of like, "Ooh, I want that," but you can't get it now. I got news for you. He's been reissued. This is a slightly different version. He does not have all the hoopla that came with the original. He has the red eyes now. No, wait, no, he does have it. Okay, so it is a one-to-one reissue.
Vines. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what I get for not clicking through the whole thing. I would argue that this is probably, in this price range, the definitive Superman in this price range. You're not going to get much better than the soft goods with the wiry cape and the sculpt and everything. Outside of like anything drawn pre-1980, this is like Hush. Honestly, just like Dark Knight Returns before it, kind of defined these characters again for another decade, I'd say. So if you like Superman and you just want one, you want a really good one, get this one. I've got one. He's in the box. I'm scared to open him up again, but I will eventually open him up and let him breathe. I'm going to wait until I have a way to protect him from animals, because if I find him in someone's mouth, they may not have a mouth anymore. Just saying. Just saying.
That head sculpt is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good. And it's interesting because the style that he was drawn in at the time, the way the sculpt works, like you get a little bit of, your 70s Superman, like that really classic square jaw Superman. You also get Chris Reeve, a little bit of Chris Reeve in there. There's a little bit of Henry Cavill, a little bit of Henry Cavill in there too. It's almost like if you put Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill's face together, and just gave it a glossy 70s Superman paint job.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah, it's a good suit. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Now I'm just gonna run through these real quick. We're not gonna be spending a lot of time on this because my man has certain allergies. Okay, so if you didn't know, Mutt and Junkyard are up for pre-order. This is on Nerdzoic, but you can get them just about anywhere. They also have the Grenadier Metalhead. I will say all of these have great looking sculpts, but they're classified. You either like them or you don't.
Hey, for that Mutton Junkyard, do they show all of the promo photos, or is it just that one?
Let's take a look. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them right here.
Oh, okay, do me a favor. Look at that photo right there.
Okay.
What do you see in that photo?
One, his magazine's out on the floor. Like, why?
That's it.
First of all,
Yeah.
why would you pet your?
Why
would you stop to pet the dog? Also, that photographer didn't know what they're doing. That's what I see. I see incompetence in this picture. Is what I see.
That's what I see. Do me a favor and go to the white photos.
Okay, sure.
2 more over.
Oh, 2 more over.
Yeah,
so sorry. This one with all the accessories and stuff. This one.
Yeah. Can you zoom in on the carrying handle on that rifle?
Wow! You couldn't even Photoshop that straight. What are you doing? All right, so right here, what he's pointing
Look at
at
how bent that is.
Yeah, it's horrible. And here's the thing: is that these are things that I don't tend to look at initially when I'm seeing these photos, and now I'm going to start looking at them because that's fucking funny, dude. It is. Now with the Metalhead, that is that really from the Grenadiers like era, like when they switched over to the Deke cartoon, we had the gold. Like this is where this character comes from.
Yeah, Metalhead. He's a prominent Iron Grenadier. He is all throughout the Deke cartoon series,
Okay, which I haven't seen in.
Yeah, he has his little signature saying when he fires his rockets and everything. Yeah, Metalhead's all over it.
One of them, huh?
Yeah.
And it's they're doing the thing as far as like not skimping on his accessories. They're giving that character his due. Now, is it? And this is just me. Is it really an extra $10 worth of accessories? I think one could argue closer to 5. But Hasbro will be Hasbro. Right?
Yep.
It's a whole. All right. So let's see here. And again, real quick, your Transformers guy, you might be happy to see they got a Junkion scrap heap, which is basically just a Junkion repaint, which is fine because if you troop build these, you want different colors and everything else. The lady and I just got through watching Transformers the movie all the way through for the first time together. We've tried to start it several times, but usually we're heavily influenced by alcohol and we didn't make it through the movie because we were both tired.
You're talking the animated, right, with the Junkions?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only Transformers movie that I acknowledge exists. Everything else are Transformers adjacent. I will hear no arguments. I will be taking no questions. But she loved it. She loved the Junkicons. So I might get her one of these. I don't know. We'll see. If I can get myself a Wreck-Gar, I'll loop back around and get her a Junkion. Marvel Legends stuff coming up. We got a Tombstone. I'm super stoked for this. I think he's an underrated villain. I think the sculpt is perfect. You get a little bit of the 80s, a little bit of the 90s look. It doesn't get into that stupid crap we got in the late 90s moving on. They tried to make him like, I don't know, like a ghost or some shit. But yeah, it looks good. It's on a retro card. Get him if you want him. It's good stuff. Also in that category. Oh yeah, it's great sculpt. Then you got Jack-O-Lantern, which again, unsung villain in the Rogue Gallery for Spider-Man. I think it overshadowed when the guy that was Jack-O-Lantern became the Hobgoblin. I loved his backstory. He's like a super crazy mercenary. It's Jack-O-Lantern. If you're a Spider-Man guy, pick one up. It's worth it. It does the thing. I don't know how he keeps getting stuff back in stock, but if you want a retro card of Zartan, get it while you can. I already have.
Never even seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. As far as like, I like all the classifieds that are on card, just because it's the closest thing to the older stuff in this scale that we're gonna get. Anytime you put something on a retro card, I am more apt to buy it.
Is that a photo of the figure on the burst?
I don't think that it is. No, that's a drawing. You can see.
Okay.
You can see how it's all like that's not a photo right here. See that?
Oh, okay. Now I can. Yeah.
Yeah. But now, is that perfect? No.
Did they paint over a picture? Probably.
Most likely. But it's a hell of a lot better than the damn box art we get on the other mainline figures. My biggest gripe with classifieds, right here. You give me this beautiful big ID card and you put it in like 70 different languages. Now, I understand why it's done. I don't care. Take the financial risk, print it, do it right, or don't do it. That's just me. I know it's not just me.
They're not gonna.
That bothers me. I know they're not going to do it. If you have not gotten yourself a Luke Cage yet, Nerdzoic still has them. Get one. Jim Largo, if you're watching this now or on the replay, I've got yours right over there. Don't worry. It is waiting for you. Like Three's Company. Last two things. Now, if you're an Ultron guy and you like to troop build, you can get a troop of Ultrons. Nerdzoic's really good for this. You're basically getting a little more than half of a figure free when you do it this way. And I love this because the first version of this sculpt that they did had a slightly different head on it, and it was a darker alloy color. So if you combine that with this version, you have like a main guy and then all this other stuff. And okay, all right. Clearly, I need to go back to chat here. Real quick before I do that, previously Hasbro Pulse exclusive Drax the Destroyer and Moondragon. I have this set. I love this set. The scale's a little weird, but it's beautiful. And warning, get a figure stand for Moondragon. Otherwise, you're going to give her osteoporosis. Because to get her to stand, she has to lean so far forward to offset that goddamn plastic cape. It's the only drawback of this thing. But it's a great set. It's good stuff.
Nice.
That concludes this portion of the show. Um, so, Master Son, thanks for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that, brother. And it's good to see you. It's been too long. Says, too many military folks in one location at the same time, something bad's about to happen. Or something awesome.
Both.
Yeah, that's what I think. But, dude, it's really good to see you. Had the pleasure of meeting him at Retropalooza 2 years ago. I did not spend enough time with him. Really fun dude. Really, really
Yeah,
good guy.
yeah, he's a really awesome guy.
Absolutely. Woman at Cardboard commenting on the classified says, QC will be bad. Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Jason
It
Garcia
doesn't make
yelling,
a hater to point that stuff out. You know?
No, it does not. And electrified fences, Jason Garcia is yelling for some reason.
Loud noises.
Loud noises. Brandon commenting on World Minute Cardboard's secret mission thing says, I could see that Grindhead being like John Voight character in Heat. Okay, I like that. I love Heat, by the way. It's a great movie. And then Chad like Mark Wahlberg in The Big Hit. I'm like, without the accent, please. Can we do without that? Because I don't think I need you to go out to the yard, not too far from the car.
Donnie.
Melvor says, Hot Rod should have listened to Cup. That is correct, Melvor. It's good to see you, buddy. Or my cardboard says, QC issue has 2, the recent Transformers have turned me off lately. Okay. Can you expand on those? Because now I'm scared. Jeremy J says, sup, nerds? What's up with you, sir? It's good to see you, brother. Photoshopped a photo of the toy. Okay. All right.
Probably.
Yeah. So, we come to the real reason we are here. Well, the first real reason, anyway. We might have a surprise for you later, if you're nice. If you guys are good. If you're good. Focused collections. And I thought you were the perfect guest to talk about this because you and I have similar sized collections in terms of sheer volume, right?
Sure.
Because I've got a walk-in closet full of stuff that I just haven't put on the shelf yet, and I'm sure that when all spreads out, it'll be like this, but it won't be nearly as organized, tidy, or flowing to the eye because I like too much shit. Whereas you have a deeper focus. I was explaining it to Lauren earlier, like what I meant by that. So, in my case, I say this toy line, this toy line, this toy line, etc., ad nausea, but maybe I'm curtailing certain things or cherry picking or whatever the case may be. Jack of all trades, master of none kind of comes up with what I'm doing. Whereas you, in my opinion, you are G.I. Joe focused, but also you go military adjacent and you tend to stay in that 1/18 scale.
Correct.
So, I guess from my perspective, what made you decide to become that? Because the thing is, you have a laser focus within that realm, but you have a lot of shit. No, it's not shit, but you know what I mean. You have a lot of stuff. So
Get a lot of junk, Chad.
well, no, not at all.
Yeah.
By no means. But I guess the question that I'm trying to answer here with this discussion we're going to have here is focused collection really the right term? Because I think every collection has a focus. It's a question of how narrow that focus is and what you say yes to, what you say no to. So at what point in your collecting journey did you say, okay, no, I'm going to just stick with this? Was there a point that happened, or was it always just, this is all I want?
Isn't that a line from Krull? Narrow focus, wide of vision, right?
It probably is. And if that's where my subconscious pulled that from, I'd be very impressed with my subconscious right now.
Yeah, it's that weird wizard dude with like the bob haircut.
The one that turns in with the black eye. And he
turns into a goose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, G.I. Joe has always been a part of my life since Real American Hero came out in 1982. I've just been all in with G.I. Joe. Obviously, I did the thing that a lot of other people did. I got older, became a teenager, toys weren't cool anymore, and then it was skateboarding and girls and music and blah blah blah. But it shaped my entire life. It's what got me to join the military. It's the only career I've ever had in my adult life. And to me, GI Joe, it just lives in the 1/18 scale.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd we go? What happened?
I broke it. I fixed it. We're okay. We're okay.
Stop
My
breaking
fault.
stuff.
I
You're
screwed
breaking
myself
your own
up.
show.
That's right. That's fine.
So
Um,
that's just kind of it's just kind of where I am, but at the same time, it's not just GI Joe. So
right.
there's Eagle Force stuff, there's Marauder stuff, and Marauders doesn't really have a story. It's just build figures, reinforce your armies, kind of a thing. Whereas Eagle Force does have characters and backstories and stuff like that. I
How do you?
tie a lot of Transformers in.
That's awesome. And I'm gonna roll back around to that with the Eagle Force. What are your feelings on the new Eagle Force issues that came out? The new 4 inchers that are coming out now.
Which ones?
The in fact, for the last year they've been putting out this big long line of new Eagle Force stuff 4 inch. I've seen on Big Bad all the time. I've never bought one, but they look really cool.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
I love everything about them.
because what I find interesting is that they're not just doing reissues of the old figures; they're also like doing like those. It's not really this character, but wink, very cool stuff
Yeah.
there, and it is something that now that I've been, at Toy Point is what I call it. Someone gives you a toy, and then you have to start collecting that thing. Started collecting more in the scale. I might come back around to them. Um, with the Transformer stuff, and this is something I meant to ask you last time we were talking, but that was such a hop in chat that was like, it was like fog of war kind of
Yeah.
shit, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But when you're collecting Transformers, is there a conscious effort to scale them with Joes to get the right scale? Okay,
Yeah. I only have, well, I don't want to say only, because again, this is the whole I'm a focused GI Joe collector, however, comma.
right.
95% of my Transformers are masterpiece, because if you put an MP10 Prime next to Scarlet, Snake Eyes Stalker, insert Joe character, the scale's good.
Did it
And the same
literally come up
applies
about the
for
about the knee? Come up to about Optimus's knee?
under the knee.
Good. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's right in scale like the comic book.
Yeah, so I've got MP10 Prime with Snake Eyes and Stalker right in front of him, and they're just below his knee joint. And then Megatron, Soundwave, gotta have Devastator because he's Devastator.
Mm-hmm.
Shockwave. Yeah, just kind of like that. Not a
Yeah,
ton of them, but your greatest hits kind of guys.
which is kind of where I'm at with the Voyager class stuff. With the core class, I'm just getting almost all of them. I do everything but the Beast War stuff, basically, because I have no connection
Yeah.
whatsoever. And what I'm finding, I'm finally about to have a problem with this, is that I've gotten all the core class up to this point, but then I was like, oh shit, do I take Rumble and Frenzy, who are out of scale with core class, and display them there, or do I put them properly scaled with a Voyager class Soundwave, which is where they belong? Spoilers, it's going to be the latter of the two because they look
Right.
amazing. Where's Ravage? Where's Rambat? Where's all of Blaster's tapes? I don't know what they're waiting on. It's stupid, but that's me. But you had mentioned that you expand on it, like you have certain things, like you have the Transformers, because obviously you have an affinity for them. You're looking to keep them in scale, which kind of leads into like the next thing. What is the most off focus series or set of toys in your collection? What would you say is the most out there, given your focus?
Mm. I I don't have Mask, but I have Mask. So I have
Okay.
one, two, three, four. I have 6 figures just sitting shelf next to my computer, and it's two versions of my no one version of Miles Mayhem, Slyrax, um, Buddy, Brad, and 2 Matt Trackers. And then
Mm-hmm.
I have just because I wanted the vehicle to go with my aquatic display. I have one adventure person. I guess I
Hmm.
can't call them adventure people because it's So yeah, I have this one random adventure person. That's it. Everything else is 118 scale, Joe, Marauders, Joy Toy, Eagle Force, and Masterpiece Transformers. And that's it. And then
So
I made a bunch of custom 118 scale mask stuff to go with my Joe. Because in my head canon and in the comics, right, Transformer and Joe crossed over, like it or not. And
okay.
then Joe, Transformer, Mask, Visionaries, ROM, all that crossed over in that whole Unit E thing, the Revolution. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when it was the Transformers limited series with Marvel. The third issue, they brought in Black Suit Spider-Man, and I was like, "What?" And although it was kind of like, okay, they have all these military. Why wouldn't you just do GI Joe and leave Spider-Man out of it? Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
made no sense to me at all. Um, it was fun because I'm a huge Spider-Man guy, but even as a kid, you're like, really, really? Are you just trying to sell the book now? Is that it? Is that what you're doing? Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it.
Weird decisions.
Yes. Epic Badger bringing up Eagle Force Plumber Brothers, no relation. Rolling
And then
back
there's
to
the
something.
not Charlie Brown. His name's Charles something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They get a little bit weird, but it's fun for sure.
But then they
Brandon,
have the guys in the gold, which is, completely a throwback to Megaforce. You've got those
true.
guys. Now you have the Monster Force guys coming who are not Red Shadows. And the guy in black who's dressed like Black Major, his alternate head is the alternate head for Baron Ironblood. And then the Baron Ironblood figure has the alternate head for Black Major. And so you swap the alternate heads, keeps them from getting sued. They're smart about how they do that.
They are, and I was very impressed when I was first covering them when they were first getting released for pre-order. I was like, I'm not entirely sure how they're getting away with this, but I hope they continue to get away with it because I
Yeah.
think these things need to be there.
Yeah.
It was really smart. So it's nice to see companies taking risks like that, where they can get away with it. It's kind of like the original Eager Force line, where it's just like, how are they doing this? Because it's just a
Yeah.
few years prior with like Atari. Like I remember with Atari, the 2600 was out. ColecoVision comes out. There's a module you can plug into the front of a ColecoVision and play Atari cartridges on that system. This
Yeah.
was uncharted territory. It was like, wait, can they do that? And then Atari was like, no, they really shouldn't be doing that. And I think they lost in court.
Right.
And then one later was something else that was similar like that. So when I always remembered that. So when Eagle Force comes out and all the other, I hate to use the term knockoff, but GI Joe adjacent brands, it was always kind of like. And I know that some people have like certain affinities. Like my buddies Billy and Jay always refer to GoBots as like the ghetto Transformers. I never saw it that way. Like never.
Yeah.
Like I didn't particularly care for the GoBots, but I never felt like they were targeting poorer people. I just didn't like where they were going with it.
Yeah, I mean they were just a more simple transformation gimmick, and they were before Transformers anyway, so suck it. But that being
Exactly.
said, I have that 9-inch Revenge of Kronos Psykill, and that figure is money, money.
Yeah, there's some good GoBot stuff out there, and I particularly enjoyed the larger GoBots. I think it was a black color Porsche that they had.
Yep.
They had a black one and
Uh-huh.
they had a silver one. And one was a GoBot, one was a evil guy. And I think I had the black one. I just loved it because it was a
Renegade, the
Yes,
Renegades.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm old. I appreciate it. But what I loved about those versions of the GoBots more so than the smaller ones was that they were die-cast. They were really solid toys.
Yep.
And again, it was a simpler transformation, whatever, but it's still very impressive at the time. And you just didn't have. I think they just filled a different niche, and I don't
Yeah.
think they got nearly enough appreciation at the time for what they were. And certainly as a kid, I was like, it looks chintzy. But now I'm like, but that
But
doesn't mean
now
I'm running.
when
Go
you
ahead.
see that GoBots command center, right, either in the vertical command center mode or in that, like, it's not necessarily an AT-AT walker, it's not necessarily a robot dog, it's kind of in between. But every time I
Yeah.
see that thing, I love it. I love that command center.
Yeah, it's a really simplistic toy design that just functions the way that it needs to. It's one of the most toyetic things I think I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Where like every square inch of that thing says "play with me," and there not a lot of toy lines can say that. So let's see here. Coming back to chat, Steven asks, Chad, do you like the '60s 12-inch Joes? I think that's a great question.
No.
I figured it would be a short answer. Um, I
That being
have
said,
okay.
right, there's caveats to that too, because I do have a lot of adventure team stuff.
Right on.
But do I have 1/6 scale Joes? No.
I have one, and it was a gift. And what he did was he decked him out in just infantry trooper gear from the cartoon, and 3D printed like a jetpack and stuff, and it's pretty cool. I still don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with him. I have no idea where to put this guy at this point. He's probably gonna find his way somewhere in the living room. It's a beautiful piece. I just don't know where to, because if I put him with my Joes, it'd be like, oh look, there's a Joe Giant, and it doesn't. It's not. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird.
I had the boxed Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow from the late 90s, early aughts, and they just kind of floated around in boxes or whatever forever, and then I finally I gave them away.
Gotcha. Roman Cardboard saying that Joe was a huge influence in his life as well. Almost joined the Marines right out of high school because of GI Joe, but a health problem made it not possible. Yeah, I almost didn't get into the Marines because of my hearing, believe it or not. Like I've done that much damage. Yeah. This is why I love you.
Good times. Sorry.
But I like this one up though. He says instead, my first job was working at a foundry where we made castings for Navy ships. That's awesome. My uncle did that for many years after being in the Navy. He did one term in the Navy and then came over and did that, and that was a job he had for a long time. I almost felt that was a very laudable thing to do, manufacturing and so forth for that, because someone's got to make it.
Yeah.
And I always preferred that. This is going to sound weird, and anyone who might be of a sensitive nature, just cool your jets. I always preferred the idea of Americans making the stuff that Americans use in times of war because I trust it more.
Yeah. Not gonna outsource that.
No. Especially not that stuff.
It's like at the last Olympics, they had flags that were made in China, and people were furious about that.
Well, yeah. But the question is, why were they furious? Was it because we were exploiting Chinese people? Or was it because, oh, they're made in China, they're not real American flags? Like, those are the two arguments you hear the most. I mean, which is...
I'm not getting into the weeds about it, but you know, you're at the Olympics, and it's all like, all our uniforms are made in America, and this, that, you know, American workers and American jobs, and woo, you know, flags are made in America.
Well, all I have to say is that tomorrow's election day across this country, and if you really feel that way about American flags, vote in some people might actually help funnel jobs back to this country. That's all I'm saying. That's all I got to say about it. Ends the politics for me.
Tomorrow's not the big election, though.
No, it's not. It isn't. However, it starts state level, bro. It starts state level. I was actually looking over some of the stuff that's up here in Texas, and I'm like, okay, most of this shit I don't care about, but that one's good. They have a thing trying to help farms stay afloat and expand the stuff, and I'm like, well, if you really wanted farms to do more, they could grow other stuff. Okay, babe, but you know, it's fine. It's okay. Yeah, if you don't want, you know, because that's the thing. CBD is legal in Texas, for example. I don't mean to go off on this tangent. No. CBD is legal, which is fine. And here's the thing: the vast majority of the CBD that comes into the state comes from other states. Well, why are you just leaving that money on the table?
But why?
but why? I don't understand.
Well, you know, New Mexico is legal like Colorado's legal. So everywhere you go, that's all you smell. That stuff is everywhere.
which is fair. And I feel like having been through Colorado, certainly to Oregon, which is the same way, and some other places, it's like, well, after the initial, shall we say, culture shock, it's just another thing. And that is what it is. And I don't, now I'm going to stop right there before I go into a big pile of poop. But when I asked you about the weirdest thing in your collection that was off brand, Matt Noon comes in and says, I bet it's Stompers. Do you remember Stompers?
Yes. My favorite toy store here in Albuquerque has a whole display cabinet full of Stompers. And then the one right next to it is all
Penny Racers?
Battle Beasts.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have tons of Stompers, carded Stompers. Oh, I remember Stompers, but you change out the tires and yeah.
I had like a dozen of them. I had like that little road thing, like the off-road plastic ramp thing that you put together. I would just play with
Yeah.
those forever. And after playing with those and kind of the chaos that could ensue, I was like, I don't want slot car racers. Like that's yeah, it's kind of like how I feel about NASCAR now. It's like 500 miles in a circle. I ain't impressed. Like come on. Uh, so stompers always were kind of a cool thing for me.
I have random stuff in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the birthday door hangers, just the plastic sheets that people put over their front doors for kids' birthdays.
Oh
I
sure,
have a GI Joe one. It's
nice.
really old, and then I have random stuff like this.
An empty chair. Oh nice. Okay.
But this is that KO, right? Complete knockoff stuff. When
Yeah.
you and I were kids, this stuff was all over the place.
Yeah.
These Soldier Force items are pretty cool, and I always loved the turbo assault jet boat because it scales so well with GI Joe.
Yeah.
But when we were kids, we wouldn't even take a second look at this stuff.
Not
But
really.
I built it. I put the stickers on it. This thing's just so cool, man. It's fun.
Absolutely. When those kind of toys started making their way into my collection as a kid was when my mom was aware that I knew how math and budgets worked. So she was
Yeah.
trying to say like, okay, you have this much to spend. What do you want? So I could get an 8 to 10 pack of figures for the $10, or I could get like 3 regular figures, or get a small
Yeah.
vehicle. And you start to do that kid math. And it
Right.
felt like you were in that aisle for like 8 hours trying to figure that shit out. It's
Right.
probably
Yeah.
15 minutes, and you were just your parent was gnawing their arm off trying to get out of there. It's whatever. But that's what it kind of started for me. And I like the Remco stuff a lot too.
Yeah.
The only one I ever came home with was that ninja that had like it was all black, but he had like a gold cord on his robe.
Yeah.
He came with a grappling hook.
Yep. He did.
Yeah, and that's one that I'm again now that I'm in the 1/18th fam, if you'll pardon the phrase. I'm eventually going to loop back around and get me one of them too, because I love that figure, man. I was like big in the ninjas back in the day. Who wasn't? Raise your hand if you weren't in ninjas, and then put your hand back down before you're embarrassed. Because ninjas are awesome. You weren't in the ninjas at all, really?
I only like one ninja, and that's Storm Shadow.
Okay, you could do a
Only
hell of a
one.
lot worse.
Well,
So
I always felt that Storm Shadow worked in the grand story of GI Joe because he was Cobra Commander's bodyguard, and that's
yeah,
all he was there to be. If somebody got out of line, he just came out and that was it. And then he just kind of went away. And
sure.
yeah. And then when everybody was a ninja, and now you got Kamakura and this, that, and red ninjas and blue ninjas, and this one's a ninja, you're a ninja, Zartan, Road Pig, Flint, Firefly.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
From that perspective, I totally understand. I like ninjas in the generic sense, but I certainly did not gravitate to them in the Joe line. Believe it or not, I never had a Storm Shadow, never had
Right.
a Snake Eyes as a kid. First
But
Snake Eyes I ever owned was an adult.
Snake Eyes was never a ninja until Ninja Force anyway. I know everybody likes to say he's a ninja, but even on all the cards, it always said Commando. That
Yep.
being said, but like the Shokasugi movies are fantastic. I love those movies. I watch Revenge of the Ninja all the time.
Good pull. I like that. I'm just gonna let that one sit in the air. That's a really good pull. A lot of people don't talk about those. It's good. I knew I liked you for a reason. I knew I did.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna attempt in vain to catch up with chat because they're saying some cool shit in here.
Cool.
So, Brandon says, same but different. Canadian at the time I thought of this today. Military looks like dollar store ripoff USA military. You're not wrong. Having served with Canadian military, amazing people, competent at what they do, but they're always just kind of waiting to see what we do. That was my opinion at the time. Not very proactive people, but when you did get them on task, hey, just as good as anybody else.
Weird language barriers too. I called in a salute report once, and there was a Canadian battle captain on the net.
Mm-hmm.
We passed 2 technical trucks, and I called it in, and then I called out like the number of packs,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, "What packs? Like, what does that mean?" And I'm like, "Bodies," and he's like, "There's dead bodies in it," and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna kill you." So yeah, doesn't always translate.
So apparently, Wilhelm likes GoBots. I'm not surprised because he's
Oh
a
yeah.
radical dude. Radical dude.
Mm-hmm.
Giraffe says he hopes I got my Godzilla -1 tickets. I have not. I'm not even certain when it's actually premiering because I've been trying to stay away from it because I don't want to get too much spoiled. I watched one trailer and was like, I'm sold. Because anytime you give me a Toho-led Godzilla film, I'm in no matter what. Right.
Is that what it's called? Godzilla -1?
Mm-hmm. And by all accounts, Gareth Edwards, the guy that directed the American reboot in 2014, which was really good, and it left you
And
wanting
Rogue One.
more. Yeah, and Rogue One was great. You know, that guy knows how to make a goddamn movie.
Mm-hmm.
He said that Godzilla -1 is the way a Godzilla film should be.
Nice.
That was his exact quote. He says, "I loved it," and at that level that he is in terms of an artiste, he doesn't have to say that shit. So I trust what Mr. Edwards has to say. Therefore, I have nothing but hope.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't gotten the tickets yet, but I will eventually. I'm sure it'll happen. I'll get out of the house someday. Maybe.
Sweet.
Possibly.
Maybe.
And allegedly.
It's safer at home.
That's right. It is. Worldmade Cardboard says, "What about a focused genre collection? I've been collecting Punch-Out books. Fair. Star Wars, Star Trek, Transformers, DC, and Marvel, all made out of Punch-Out cardstock. Yes. I feel like that the similar things can be said for like people that are enthusiasts of model kits, Lego sets.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, there are people that collect just one character for sure.
Yep.
And being someone who has a fairly obscene number of Spider-Man figures, I'm never going to talk trash about anybody that does that, even though I don't fully understand. But then I look at behind me and I'm like, oh shit, I'm one of those guys too. I just don't admit it out loud. It's a whole thing. Is there a character that if someone put a gun to your head and said you have to pick one that you would go with in that respect?
Probably
No?
not.
You
No,
just like
unless you're just talking like an army builder, like a battle android trooper or something. But no.
Also, can I just call out publicly that I think it's rad that you always call out the full names of things and seldom use acronyms when it comes to the Joe stuff in particular.
Yeah, so I don't say Trouble Bubble, I say Cobra Flight Pod.
Yeah, and I always say Treble Bubble because it's just easier to say. And I, dude, I had so much fun with that thing as a kid. That was one of my favorite vehicles.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's just fun. The only thing about it, and I could never figure out if it was a design choice to have the back engines come off or what, but they came off all the time. Is it supposed to be like, oh, it's battle damage, or is it just shitty engineering? You be the judge.
Yeah, it's just put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would actually, it got to the point where I would hold it, I would pinch it with my finger to keep it in.
Right, hold it like this.
Yeah. And one of my goals, we're coming up here within a month or so, gonna finally dip my toes into 3D printing, and I'm gonna make a lot of Cobra flight pods, man.
3D printing, it's so cool because like sky's the limit, but at the same time, it's very it's kind of like voodoo because it's like I don't have a thing, and then through the magic of zeros and ones, I make a thing. I don't, I don't really understand because my mind's like, I'm gonna take this band shroud, and then I'm gonna take the gun off of that, and I'm gonna take a wall from that, and I'm gonna bloop bloop bloop, and
Oh
then I
yeah,
made something.
and and,
It's
and that's the thing. My dad taught me that kind of stuff because he was a hobbyist carpenter. He did hot rodding when he was younger. He knew all kinds of stuff about parts and whatever. Do I need to scroll down on the comments here?
Brandon says trouble bubble is a euphemism, not an acronym. I didn't call that an acronym. We were talking about battle android trooper,
Yeah,
but I also say Cobra Flight Pod, not trouble bubble.
correct. Which
Don't
is
be a
fair.
smartass, Brandon.
But hey, in his defense, smartass beats dumbass every time,
Yeah, no, that's true.
especially in my former and your current line of work. Because at least
Oh, I know.
because you can correct a smartass, a dumbass. You can't. As Ron White very famously said, you can't fix stupid.
I almost went off on a lieutenant today, and then I just like deleted it.
Oh, I get
Didn't
it,
even
man.
bother. Didn't
I
even
get it.
bother.
I hear you. Keith Knight, which I'm always happy to see Keith. Keith's amazing. So I started collecting 1/6 Anscombe Man, G.I. Joe, and Action Team Joe figures. I have over 40 now, all police figures. Dude, by the way, he's doing this custom of a tanker truck based on the movie Duel, which was Spielberg's film before Jaws. And he kind of modeled Jaws after Duel. They're kind of like sister movies in a sense.
Hmm.
And it looks badass. I love that. And as a film buff that knows that piece of history, I'm like, oh, that's a cool thing. It's a cool conversation piece. And while I'm on that subject, when people come into your room, obviously they get overwhelmed. Any toy room that's this big or as big as yours, they're like, ah, like they're kind of like Jean Claude Van Damme in the end of Bloodsport, ah, because they can't figure out what to focus on. What's
Yeah.
the conversation piece that you tend to draw them to first? The flag, of course.
It's not because, well, I guess it is because it's a flag, right? But if I kind of lean out of the way, it's basically an 8-foot island in the middle of this room. It's like dead in the middle of the room.
Right.
So when you walk in the door, it's the first thing that your eyes catch because it's like right across from the door.
Sure.
And how many people have seen a flag? Not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think people's eyes always go right to the flag.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
it's all lit up and shit. So
Yeah. And as well you shouldn't. I do not like it when I see flags on display, but they're like tucked away somewhere. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like it's one thing to have it like up against a wall. Like that's one thing. Like I understand that. But sometimes you feel like they're just putting it there because they have nowhere else to put it, and there's no design to the flow of their display at all. Like mine.
It's big. It's cumbersome.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it is. In my old Joe room, before we PCS'd, I built an entire wall display around the flag. So I put the base down of the flag, and then I built off and up from it. And then as I started getting more and more and more stuff, I had to move my desk, and I had to turn it from a wall to right in front of the flag. And so the only way I could see my flag is look over at my desk. And it was like behind the desk. But, I started running out of room really fast.
I'm going to fast forward here. Badger says, Chad points to the flag. All I see is the Axis Force sea lion.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. That's good.
Fun.
All right. So let's go back here.
Good eye. That's a really good eye. Yeah.
We love Badger for that. Like attention to detail is nearly second to none. This is something I didn't know. Wilhelm says that McDonald's had Stompers Happy Meal toys that rocked. I don't recall that. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, they did.
Brandon says I used to hide my stash my hash in Grimlock's chest. This is not an endorsement of smoking hash, but that's what I did. If I only had just said no. Careful with what you wish for. That's all I'm saying. Me, Grimlock, no smoke hash. Me king. Okay, so we got a few people saying ninjas, not ninjas. Okay, fair enough. American ninja.
Yeah, the plural
okay.
of ninja is ninja. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. Michael Dudikoff says JLS, which yeah, in that movie his name was Joe, which I always thought was kind of like a. I think that was deliberate, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, of course it was deliberate, but I feel like they were kind of like, he's not Snake Eyes, but maybe like you might subliminally think he's Snake Eyes.
You remember back then you had American Ninja, you had Shokasugi's ninja movies, then you had like that TV show with Lee, what's his name, the Master, right?
Oh,
You
I
had
know what you're
all those
talking
shows
about.
going on.
Absolutely.
The Master. Yeah. It's on Tubi. You can check that out. Crazy Ninjas. Ninja Time.
Yes. Matt Noon recently loaded his Terradrome up with flight pods, both modern and originals. It's a launch base, correct? And also, as I recall, in the opening of the G.I. Joe animated movie, a metric fuckload of those come out of the Terradrome and fly across the ground.
The animated movie from '87.
Yeah.
They come out of that air carrier.
Okay, that's right. And when I'm
Yeah.
remembering
Over the
more
Statue
so
of
because
Liberty.
and they also, well, I could have sworn that
Lee
happened
Van
again
Cleef.
in the
Thank you,
opening
Barrel
scene
Intro.
because in the not the opening, but like not the intro, but the actual opening of the film, there
Oh
were
yeah.
yeah, and I
Where it
remember
cuts to
that
Serpentor and he's yelling and
yeah.
Pythona gets
And
in.
I thought it was very notable because they stole the Foley sound from an Imperial shuttle in Return of the Jedi. I
Yep.
remember thinking that
Oh
was the
yeah, and
coolest
there's all
thing.
sorts of like snow speeder sounds and TIE fighter sounds, and yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
all in there. Yeah.
oh yeah, and it's awesome. Brandon talking about
Ben
the trouble.
Burt somewhere like, I'm gonna sue you.
What are you doing? But then again, they would license that stuff out, you know. But
Yeah.
I much prefer the idea of Ben Burt being really pissed off about something because he's such a nice guy. You know? Can you imagine him like really mad about something?
Yeah.
I just once
No.
I'd love to get a clip of him going, "Shut the fuck up, George! I know what I'm doing."
He's
I'm like,
just sitting
oh.
around with like a metal bowl and a shaver, and he's like, "Ooh, that's cool." He
Like
doesn't
I
care.
always loved when I found out what the Foley sound was for punches in Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. They took a bunch of old leather jackets and in a stack and hit them with a baseball bat.
Uh,
That was the
yeah, I know a lot of them use like vegetables and fruit and stuff, and they'll
sure
like, hit a
like
melon.
oh yeah, of course, of course, of course. And Brandon, I'm just being humorous. Okay. Oh, it's a Playmobil custom. I knew that. I forgot it though. I drink a little bit from here from time to time. I forget these things. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate that.
Oh, his truck?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
truck's a
that's
Playmobil
those
tank engine.
Playmobil trucks. Like you cannot rule those out. That's what I made my freaking Mask Rhino out of. Was a Playmobil semi.
And with the Playmobil, like their figures are about like 3.5, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if you really kind of
Yep.
just kind of tweak it a little bit, you can get out of
Well,
there.
in that semi, I put Matt Tracker right inside of it. They fit great. But again, it's a semi, right? So it has a taller cab.
Right.
Um, I haven't tried with like the Magnum PI car or anything like that. So it's
But
not my wheelhouse.
you're talking about Matt Tracker, like the original mask scale, which is like 2.5 inches, isn't it?
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, I
Okay.
was talking about the specialist tracker from the modern line. Yeah, not this guy, not the original Matt Tracker
Okay.
with Spectrum. Yeah. No.
I gotcha. So he's so the one you put a 4 incher in there and it worked.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And two Dukes. Yeah, they all fit.
I might have to loop back around and get myself the DeLorean time machine then, and just have it sitting next to stuff. That'd be just a
Yeah,
fun photo.
they don't scale bad, I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Huh. Epic Badger says, I can see small vehicles at far distances. I have to because of his collection. He collects small stuff. He like the micro machines and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he does a lot of that stuff. Like a lot of us, he went a little ham during the pandemic, and then at the end, when the dust settled, it was kind of like a blood orgy. He's like, "Oh, what have I done?" And he's
You
like
know what's
started
funny?
scaling down.
I didn't go ham during the pandemic. I was deployed to East Africa, man. I was putting in work.
But
the whole time. So like
but you were already collecting at that point, though.
I
That's the
was, yeah.
difference.
But
Yeah.
see, my whole thing is like the army will send me to a school and then I sit there and I freaking doom scroll and I just buy toys, 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 toys. And then I come home from whatever school, part of the non-commissioned officer academy or something like that. And I'll just
Mm.
have just tons of boxes like, woo, it's like my gift to myself. But yeah, that's generally how I go hard in the
And,
paint with toys is when I'm away.
and when I was in, that wasn't really not quite an option because you didn't have like the mobile phone browsers the way you do now and stuff like that.
Right, right.
But I specifically remember NCO school and going like, dude, it was hard enough for me to get a decent beer on base because we were on an air base at Buford, and unless you wanted to be around pilots, there was like one place you could go, and I really don't like pilots. I really don't like them.
No,
Um,
flyers are kind of prima donnas. Yeah.
look, I think that it's earned to a certain degree. I think it is because they do have to do some shit no one else has to do, and I understand that and I respect that. It just that
Yeah.
respect doesn't always go both ways, though.
No, that's true. And I think it depends on the type of flyer as well.
Sure.
Pardon me. The Black Hawk pilots are the ones that are always like the most just cocky and stupid. And I'm like, dude, you fly a 60. Like, just be quiet. But the A10 drivers that we would always meet like overseas, like they're just rad. They're just cool guys. They're like, yeah, man, I lit that village up. Just like super
Yeah.
cool about it. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the Army's structure of rank and what access you have to certain kinds of jobs, you have a lot of warrant officers doing like helicopter piloting stuff,
Yeah.
which makes
Yeah,
perfect
absolutely.
sense. Like
Yep.
when I heard that they could do that, I was like, why isn't everyone doing that? Like that's a really, for those of you at home that don't know, a warrant officer is basically, from my perspective, I would like your perspective too. To me, a warrant officer is like a subject matter expert that your senior military enlisted folks and your officers go like, dude, we need to know the best way to do this. You're the guy or gal, and kind of.
Yeah. Chiefs are we call them chiefs, right? Warrant
Hmm.
officer. They are the subject matter experts. To be a chief, you have to have been in for so long in a certain grade, generally E6. You had to have been in your current role for at least 3 to 4 years.
Right.
Your ASVAB scores have to be so high, and you have to be in specific fields. That's why Flint being a warrant officer is cool, but Flint being infantry is a no-go because there are no chiefs in the infantry, no chiefs in
Now,
combat arms whatsoever.
like they
But
could they could advise, but they wouldn't be boots on the ground.
yeah, but they're what's called our PBOs. There are like our property book officers because they're the logisticians and things like that. Like
Right.
they move equipment, they requisition new equipment whenever we get like new nods, right? Your night optic devices.
Sure.
They we give them the AMPDS 13s, they give us new ones and so on and so forth. And they're the ones they handle all the contracts and things like that. But
The
then you get warrant officers who are pilots as well.
right. And my dad was a warrant when he was in the Coast Guard. He was in the Air Force first and said, "No, no, I'm good," and then went to Coast Guard and ended up becoming a warrant officer. And then I saw warrant officers in a different light when I was in the Marines. The first warrant officer I saw in the Marines was the range master, and that guy scared the shit out of me. He was really kind, very warm toned voice. Never wouldn't do the normal crap that people would do in that situation when you're a recruit or in training or something like that.
Right.
But like just his presence and his expertise just oozed off the guy. And every warrant officer I met as active duty, I felt that.
Yeah.
And it was always something that I had a lot of reverence for, not just because my dad was one. And for a hot minute, that was my career path because of what I was doing was so specialized. It made sense to become
Yes.
basically a consultant. And it didn't work out that way because I got hurt. But it is what it is. What it is. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back
Yeah.
around.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
warrant officers have that whole that whole stigma about them that they're like unicorns and you never see them. And when you do, they don't have headgear on. They've got their hands in their pockets and they're just like, they don't do what everybody else does. They're just like, yeah, I don't care. And
But I
they
also
just
feel like
leave.
they do what nobody else can. That's kind of why they don't do what everyone else does, because what they're doing is so,
Yeah.
well, focused, right?
Yeah.
See, brought it back on topic, folks.
Yeah.
Brandon, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Says, I'm an American trapped in a cold country with a leader that runs like a girl. Sponsor me. I, hmm,
Dude,
I
I
don't know.
told you you could come fucking crash in the Joe room. Yeah.
That's right. I got a couch here somewhere. It's a true story. Here in Texas, no one runs like a girl except the girls, and some of them girls run real good. They run like a man.
Yeah.
Does that confuse you yet? I don't know.
I don't see any horns growing out of your head, so that quite narrows it down. Yeah. I love Texas, though.
Yeah, it is a unique place in America, for sure. For sure. GLS Comics asks if it was the WMAC Masters in the '90s with Shannon Lee, if that's what you were talking about, with the ninjas.
No, the one with Lee Van Cleef from the '80s.
Okay.
With the kid, the blonde dude that he like trains to be a ninja. Remember Lee Van Cleef? He wore that black karate gi, and then he had like that medallion that he always wore, and it was like significant. Yeah, that master. I'm talking about the master.
And Keith also says, Chad, I saw your mask custom. Awesome, mate. I've done a few Playmobil customs now.
Cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Eric Badger following up says, been collecting micro-sized stuff since 2015. It was the 6-inch stuff I started buying around COVID. Now reversing the decision. Yes. In a big way. And I've gotten some great deals because of it. Thank you, regret. I love you. And Epic Badger's asking, he showed me a picture once of a mod that you could put on a pair of Crocs that was like, it made it look like an A10. And I was just like, why would you ever show this to me? And he's asking if Flyers would buy that. I really hope not. I think most Flyers, at least in my experience, their egos are so big that if you ever caught them in Crocs, they would implode and just melt into the ground, a la the end of Wizard of Oz.
Even the RPA pilots, for anyone who doesn't know, RPA means remotely piloted aircraft, or what is generally referred to as drone. But the RPA pilots, they'll go in their freaking trailer in flight suits, and then they're sitting there playing their little,
Video game.
MQ-10 Reaper video game in a flight suit in an air-conditioned trailer. And I'm like, dude, you could be wearing a bathrobe. What are you doing? And they're like,
exactly.
No, I gotta go fly the aircraft. I'm like, get out of here, dude.
And that to me is like the funny thing is I think that there's a couple different breeds of military folks, especially in the enlisted ranks, where you've got the folks that take their job way too seriously, and you got the folks that take the job seriously, the job itself, as opposed to the title of it. The guys that show up and are always locked and cocked with the uniform crazy good, and they seem more concerned about the appearances that they're doing a good job than actually doing a good job. Then you got the guy that shows up, maybe his uniform isn't as on point, and he'll take off his top, his BDU top, and just have like a t-shirt on, and he'll be doing his job and everything else. But that's the guy you go to. You walk into any shop, the guy who's got his top off, in my opinion, was always the first guy you go to, because that's the guy who's really paying attention. Whereas the guy standing there just kind of like overseeing shit, like I just never talk to them. They just, you know what I mean? Yeah. Have you seen a similar phenomenon with that?
Yeah. So like in the enlisted, right? So I'm one of the highest enlisted ranks in the Army, and I have this sergeant major that I've known, like he and I floated around the same brigade combat team forever. Mm-hmm. I've known him since he was an E6 and I was a corporal, and he still comes at me like super crazy. Like this dude, everything is a house fire to him. Like to him, catastrophizing is his plan. And I'm like, yeah, that's not, just give me your intent, give me an end state, and then just like go away. And I will, like, I'm a resource manager. I will put some bodies on this and I'll get it done. That's it. Like everything's easy. And I was talking with my first sergeant yesterday, and he's like, I don't know why all these guys have to make everything so hard. Like they're all so stupid. And I'm like, well, there's guys like you and me, we've been around like 20 plus years, we deployed, we've been shot at, we've been blown up, we've gotten in firefights, and we just like everything's like it's manageable. Like we can
Mm-hmm.
handle it. And then you got these like young officers never deployed, they're just college kids, and they're like, oh, we gotta like good idea, ferry everything, and we have to make it 10 times harder, like that complexity. It's such a simple thing, but we have to make it like so convoluted that it's really hard. Just stop. Like, yeah.
Exactly, and I
Yeah.
find that a lot. Um, Having kind of transitioned from military to civilian life, where people are like running around with like chickens with their heads cut off,
Yeah.
and it's like like what I do for my job. For those of you that don't know, I essentially make content for work, educational stuff for our clients for work. So I'm cutting videos, I'm doing lesson outlines, stuff like that. I'm a teacher, and I'll get feedback on something, and they'll say this is supposed to take you 2 to 4 hours. I'll get it done in 20 minutes and go, all right, it's done. Here you go. And they're like, what? You
Yeah.
know. But what I've learned to do, and I hope no one's watching, is that I'll do it in 20 minutes and I'll wait the 2 hours to submit it so that my utilization is not jacked up. Because I realize that if I'm doing things that quickly and they can track it, I'm screwing over my teammates without
Yeah.
meaning to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I just have a more natural knack for getting edits done. Plus, when someone's giving me criticism, I just want to get that criticism off my plate. So I'm like, you want
Right.
this? You can have it. Here. Now leave me alone.
Yeah.
But it's funny to me that even still in the military, you've got the people who are like, but even
Yeah.
Brandon's like, calm it all down. I'm good at house fires. I mean, that's a skill to have, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Brandon's totally right. Like I am I am best utilized and most resourceful when everything is hitting the fan and falling apart.
Mm-hmm. I work best
Otherwise,
under
I just
pressure.
like otherwise I just kind of piddle around. Like
Exactly.
I'll walk around and I'm that guy that either have my thumb like tucked in my belt or I have like my left hand in my pocket and I've got my coffee and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then they're like, oh, we're doing this, Sergeant. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Right on, man. Have fun. Let me know if you need anything. And then I go on my office and I'm like, and I just put my feet up and
Yeah. One
whatever.
of the,
But when it hits the fan, I'm like, oh, let's go.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I used to co-run a shop. There was three of us, plus our shop steward or shop chief, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Doc boss. Yeah.
yeah, and one of the last things we did as a team, because we always worked alone, 12-hour rotating shifts, was like, we got to teach people to do this because you're all going to get promoted and move on and all this other stuff. So, but then they brought in 6 people, so there'd be teams of 2. And I was like, oh, you get to do it that way? That's easy. And they would freak out when they would get like certain comms would come over or a signal that we would tagged or whatever, and they'd be freaking out. And I'd be like, listen, if I have time to finish my coffee, you're fine. If I put my coffee down and I push you out of the way, then you want to pay attention. That's
Mhm.
when you start paying attention. The rest of this stuff is just junk data. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Um, Just Jeff says, paying attention to the chat and the show while driving wasn't fun. Well, I'm glad you're safe. Says home again and home again with a dolly. Also, it's the same way in the Navy. Can confirm. No, lots of sailors, and I love my sailors. Best cab drivers in the world, among other things. Patrick Strawco says, Grindhead, first time. Enjoying it. I enjoy you. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the show.
He's a
Same
good
question
dude.
to me. What's my most random toy item or items? That is a good question, and I wish I'd have thought about it when you asked him. Honestly, I got it right here. I would say there's 2 random things, but the one I have like right here, these little tiny My Little Pony. I have 2 of them, and in this moment, I cannot tell you where I got them from. I don't remember. Someone sent them to me, I think. I didn't buy them. I don't have any
Yeah.
love for MLP. I'm not a brony, but they're here and they're pretty, so I just leave them sit there because reasons. Those are
Yeah.
probably one of the most random. And I have a Twinkie the Kid toy, which is kind of weird. And I got these electronic Care Bears down here. Oh, wait, you probably can't see them. There, right there. You got
Yeah.
the blue, the brown, the pink.
You can see him.
Yeah,
You can
I like
see
Care
him.
Bears. Yeah. but
I got I got sent this in the mail. Did I ever show you this? The
that's
conjoined
awesome.
twin. Yeah. Even though I'm not an O-ring guy, like still I got sent that in the mail, so it sits over here on the shelf. And then the Mark and Ben from Skeletron gave me a bottle
Bottle
opener.
opener. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Just keep
I
it.
want one of those. Damn it, you can do a lot of things with that. Um, fun times, fun times.
Yeah.
Ricky Star Fox is here. Says my buddy complains that some of the people in his squadron just either act stupid or are stupid and make things overcomplicated all the time. Yeah, that's how it works,
Would that be
especially
Air
in the Air
Force?
Force, especially in the Chair Force. Um, I think that there's one phrase that everyone who's ever been in the Air Force says at least once a week without fail, and that is
Not my job.
no. It's even shorter than that. Although you're right. The other one is, "Ugh," as in I got to do that now.
So I live on an Air Force base, and my last deployment was a combined joint task force, right? A CJTF. And we had to deal with the Air Force. We were their QRF for this super secret RPA airfield that was so super secret, they made T-shirts, and you can find it on Google Earth. But it's a top secret location with a Hell Whiz, right, which is a high energy laser weapon system. And we were out there, and no shit, one of their guys um, filed an IG complaint because they gave him an additional duty. And
Wow.
I was over here at the hospital at the 377th medical group where I live, and the woman at um, referral management, I was talking to her about a referral that I had, and she's like, because they have to ask you every time, are you PRAP? Are you use of force? Are you a flyer? You know, whatever. Are you what's called AUOF, arming use of force for security forces? And I was like, I'm not in the Air Force. And she's like, I didn't think so. She's like, you look like a man. And I was like, okay, thanks. And she's like, you know what I mean? She's like, you look at some of these people, and then like I look at you. She's like, I could tell you're not Air Force, like, because you look like a man. And I had my kid with me, and I was like, thanks. It's so random. I was like, all right. She was like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I know what you mean.
Absolutely, and it's surreal sometimes when you get to certain ranks or certain duty stations, certain vibes that are, shall we say, less disciplined than the ones you're used to.
Yeah,
And
folks. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Um, and I always resented when anyone from infantry would try to call me a pogue. I'm like, look, man, I can go into combat just as quickly as you can. In fact, I'll probably be there first because I'll be working with recon. So why don't you shut your
And we
fat lip?
need you. And we need you. So that's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you come across somebody, you know, a slick sleeve, it really just have no idea what they're doing. And people would ask me, like, I had a pair of privates that were married, and they got married just to live off base, which is like during AIT, common phenomenon, happens all the time.
Oh
I
yeah.
would I
Yeah.
would love to
Love in
know.
the barracks, baby.
I would love to know how their divorce went. That's all I'm saying.
I'm
Um,
sure it was fantastic.
but they would always ask me, like, they'd be like, hey, Corporal, um, what is your suggestion for, like, you know, adjusting this and that and da da da. I'm like, well, honestly, don't ask more questions than you are asked. Is what I always say. If someone's telling you to do something, do it. Do it to the letter of what they asked you to do, and then after that, that's when you ask the questions. Don't ever think you're smarter than the next guy until you get to a place where you actually are, and you'll know when
Yeah.
that actually occurs because someone will come to you, ask you a question. Like when
Yeah.
they start asking you questions, that's when you can start giving stuff out.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, "You mean like when I just asked you a question?" I'm like, "Pretty much, yeah." And I'm like, "And I don't know that much more than you. I just have more experience than you do." Um, and it's something that I always kind of struggled with because people are like, "Oh, what was being in the Marines like?" And they thought it's all like sewing yourself shut. They saw First Blood, Green Beret, and if that were all Marines and Special Forces, they're all like that. It's like, no, not really. But thanks.
Yeah.
I don't get it myself.
And the Marines have such a stigma around them, and the combat arms community in the Marine Corps is not even the size of a regiment in the Army. It's
Nope.
very small, very very
Exactly.
small. Yeah.
And we always used to kind of wear that on our sleeve, like we're the smallest ones with the second, third hand gear, and you still send us in first. Um, but there's a reason for that. One, it's a
It
smaller,
depends. It depends. It
right?
depends.
And even despite all the shit talk that I have said about Army over the years, all in good fun, chiding. I do think there's logistical and tactical reasons for that. One, we're just more mobile. We're designed for that kind of deployment in a way that other services aren't. That's what we're here
Why the
for.
Navy
That's
gives
what
you guys rides everywhere. Yeah.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like Uber without the really bad conversation. Um,
But
depending
even
upon
if you
which ship
look
you're
at
on.
if you look at the Iraq War, if you go back to World War II, the Marines are kicking ass island hopping in the Pacific, and then the
Mhm.
Army's doing the European campaign. Like
Exactly.
we all have our ways to fit in where we get it. It's not a big deal.
Oh, sure.
I I love all the branches. I just we all got to talk smack to each other. That's
Well,
just how it is.
someone asked me to describe what it's like to be in a joint service command. I'm like, picture it being Thanksgiving dinner all the time. That's
Yep.
what it is.
Yep.
Because everyone's got some shit to say, it's going to pop off, and whoever has the most beers first wins,
Yep.
typically. And it's fun. It's just fun to do. Um, James Lucas says, so Chad is Clint Eastwood in Heartbreak Ridge? I mean, um, it's closer to Clint Eastwood in Heartbreak Ridge than Clint Eastwood in, say, I don't know, The Mule.
Uh,
you know? Um,
yeah, I kind of if you've seen the Netflix movie with Bill Burr, that Old Dads or whatever.
I started to watch it, yeah.
So if you watch Old Dads and you watch Heartbreak Ridge and put them together, that would be me. Like I am 100% not politically correct, and on the military side, I am that old salty guy for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually a pretty good analogy. Yeah.
I would say that I would be similar, but I try really, really hard to cushion that, because it's really easy for me to just fly off and snap. But I've had to learn from doing technical support and customer service roles a lot, where you're just talking to civilians all day long. They're like, "Oh, my phone's not working." I'm like, "It's fine," and they're acting like their kid is drowning in the swimming pool. And
Yeah, yeah,
you just have to learn to be like, okay, you can't change this person's life right now by telling them that they're really overreacting here. Just fix it, be compassionate, and move on. If I didn't have that um, experience, dude, I
yeah.
would make people cry every single day.
And the funny thing is, like, when I go in the civilian world, when I go to stores and whatnot, like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
super polite and friendly. I pick up
Oh yeah,
trash off the ground, and I like offer to bag my own stuff, and like I like interacting with civilians. It's just such a different relationship.
it
But yeah,
is.
generally people in the military, when they're like, Sergeant, Sergeant, I'm like, just stop. Like,
Just come on, you're
go
gonna
find
be
your
fine.
squad leader. Yeah, I'm like, go find your
Yes,
squad leader. Yeah.
like the phrase I was most known for as a leader was "get it done," and the second one was, "Is there a reason you're bothering me right now? Why haven't you already fixed this?"
Yeah.
Which was usually very closely followed by "get it done." Um,
That sergeant major that I was talking about, when he was in E6, one of his favorite phrases was "nothing takes 10 minutes." And I'm like, actually a lot of stuff takes 10 minutes. Like, what what I mean? Like, I'm that guy. I'm like, look, we'll get it done, but you don't have to be so serious about everything. Let's
right.
quit.
There's a point for sure where it goes over. Uh, TJC with a question for both of us, and obviously I want you to lead this off as you are the guest. Do you think toys were made better years ago than they are now, or is it just lazy quality control?
Yes to both.
I would agree with that as well. I think that the engineering is more complicated today because the demands of most people for currently made toys are different. And I think that they're trying to get away with the similar QC standards they had back in the day, or worse than they used to have. So they raise the engineering, but not the manufacturing and QC standards. And as a result, we're getting, entire lines of toys that just arrive broken, and we're getting promo pictures of M16s and AR-15s with bent carrier handles, and so
Well, and they went cheaper on the duro, on the plastic, on
yeah,
those accessories, and everyone's pointing it out. Like every
sure,
channel you go look at with see, and that's kind of why I like what I do, because yeah, I'm like a GI Joe guy, but you will not see me open a classified figure that I just went and scooped up from Target and do a review of it. But everyone I see is the same thing. Like, look, this backpack won't go in the figure because the peg's too gummy and it's just bending and blah blah blah. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's gotta
it
suck. But yeah,
it
they
does.
cut corners, they do things cheaper, and somehow we've become this group of people that thinks that articulation should be more important than sculpt and artistry and paint apps and the beauty of these pieces of art.
And
And
I agree with that, but I also feel like it is not too much to ask for both. Um, I think
no,
O2 Origins is probably the best example of you can have both, and there's certainly other figure lines that have some hits and misses, but again, it does come down to QC because I legitimately cannot think of anything past 2021 that I got from Origins that had any problems out of the box. So, for example, in the first two waves, they packed the weapons inside of bags that they're way too tight, and it bent a lot of the weapons and stuff like that. They figured out they didn't want to do that anymore. They changed it. They got it fixed. But that's one toy line. It's one out of how many billions of things that are out there now, and I don't know. It drives me up a wall. That in today's day and age, with as much money as they're raking in, they just can't be bothered
yeah,
to fix certain things.
at the end of the day, like I just want people to like what they like and feel that they got value for the dollars that they spent on these things, because it's discretionary income. Like you don't have to spend it on this stuff.
Exactly.
And at the same time, like if people don't care about gummy bent weapons, cool. I mean, then don't care about it. But at the same time, like I just recorded a new car rant, and I don't know when I'm going to put it out because everybody wants a freaking toy room tour. But I kind of talk about like respect is a two-way street, and it's given and earned on both sides of that. And at the same time, just because you're okay with the thing doesn't mean that the people who aren't okay with it are haters or toxic. They're not attacking your choices. No one is here to, reinforce or validate people's opinions and choices and, tastes in toys. Like so many people love Ninja Turtles, and I cannot stand the Turtles. I never could. But that doesn't mean that I'm like picking on someone for liking the Turtles.
Exactly.
And I don't know why. If you say like, yeah, I don't like that. Like I'm still looking at this Drax figure on this screen, and ugh, God, it looks like garbage. Yeah, and that's just me. I think that for my personal taste, thank you, all 6-inch figures have disgusting anatomy. I think they're anatomically completely incorrect, and I think they look gross. But that being said, I'm not going to use
Exactly.
that as a basis for judging someone who likes it. That's dumb.
Yeah. At the end
It's
of the
so
day,
dumb.
the
Yeah.
existence of an inverse or differing opinion than yours does not negate the validity of your opinion.
No,
And somewhere in
because
the
it's
last
an
15
opinion.
years, and this is not a toy thing, this is just Western culture in general. Somewhere in the last 15 years, people just decided that they have to be right. It's like, no, you have an opinion, and you're allowed to have it, and
Mhm.
that's cool. As long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, you have that opinion. That's fine. But
I
also,
think a lot of it is the group think of
yes,
us versus you, you
yes,
versus me kind of a
yes,
thing. Yeah. And it sucks. And that's why I always keep saying like toys should be fun. Toys should be fun. They should be
absolutely.
fun. If you're not having fun, what
Why? Right? If you're not having
are
fun,
you
why are you
doing? Yeah.
collecting toys? Why are you doing
Yeah.
anything? If you're not having fun, analyze your whole life and start over. Because
Yeah.
if you're in a place where you're just not happy, the toys aren't the problem. Everything else is the problem, and you need to fix it with a quickness.
Yeah. And that's
And
that whole thing with like haters. Well, you're a hater. Oh, they're just a hater. It's like,
no,
I don't think that word means what you think it means, to quote Indigo
Princess
Montoya.
Bride, yeah,
It's
we
just
can't
one of
ever have
those
that.
things like, well, you're toxic. I'm toxic because let's say I don't like Masters of the Universe.
Right,
I'm toxic because of that, but you come to my channel and you throw personal insults at me, but I'm toxic. You know what I
right,
mean? Like
yeah,
if this was a real like interpersonal kind of interaction, like I would literally snatch you by your lip and just pull your lip down
right.
because like you don't
And
talk
and
to people like that in
and
person.
and I think that's the crux of the whole thing.
Hmm.
I've had this discussion a billion different ways. Over a billion years, and I think it boils down to like you just said. You would, if you had to speak to that person face to face, you would have more respect. And it's that implied, inferred anonymity. This crappy suit of armor, and
Yeah.
it's stupid. And look, I don't care what toys anyone collects, or if they collect toys or not. It doesn't matter to me. As I've said a lot more this year than I've ever said in my videos. This is my fucking collection. This is mine. I will do what I
Yeah.
want with it
I
when I want it, and that's
Yeah.
it. If you don't like it, fine. There's plenty of other rooms you can ogle at if you want to. Now, if you would take the same collection, display it differently, cool. Show me. Show me what you would do because maybe I'll learn something. Otherwise, shut your fucking mouth. And
Yeah.
I just feel like too often people just they want validation, and that need for validation, as you would point out before, I think it comes from again that need to be right, not necessarily correct, but right. Because again, somewhere in the last 15 years, someone decided that opinions can be facts,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not how this shit works, dude. Like, not even
No,
close.
no.
No. And I've had a much more varied life experience than the majority of people that any of you will ever meet. And I fly that proudly for the simple fact that I've met
Mhm.
people from all walks of life across the country and in other countries. And I think I'm qualified to say that none of us are super special. And that's not meant to cut anyone down because there's plenty of special people out there. But we all have
Yeah.
hopes and dreams. We all have things we like, things we don't like. We have opinions. We have biases and everything, and that's what makes us a unique people
Yeah.
um, in the world, and that should be celebrated. Not
Yeah.
you know,
It's that whole thing of values, beliefs, behaviors, and norms, right? And
yeah,
those are the four things that it drives all of us. And like that's like somebody like you or me, or I'm sure some of the other people hanging around that have like been around the world and we've seen like the really real world, not like this academic world. And you get these people and they're like, well, actually, I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in the Middle East. It's like, you ever been there?
yeah,
You
right,
ever experienced that? Like,
right,
you don't know what you're talking about. And that's
right.
whatever. It's all good.
Well, it's like
Brandon
I
R said there's a lack of Mameos lately. She'll be home tomorrow, Brandon.
right on.
Sorry.
I didn't want to get. We're going to catch up a chat here. We're going to try and zip through this because we do have a surprise for you
It's all
guys.
good. It's all good.
Keith says it's Remembrance this week in the UK, so can I just say thank you both for your service, armed forces and civilian forces. We're all guardians of the peace. Love and respects. Right back at you, Keith. You worked really hard in your career,
Oh yeah.
and I fucking love you, dude. I've met a lot of really good people doing this, and Keith is in that top tier. of
Yeah.
really strong, really kind, human, and just takes no shit. I love the guy to death. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And Keith also says, I collect toys and cats. I'm right there
Yes,
with you. Yeah, right
we're
there with
working
you.
on the cats because this is the longest stretch of my life where I haven't had cats since my first cat. We have a dog,
Yeah.
and we keep saying we're gonna get cats, we're gonna get cats. When that happens, though, it's gonna be a whole thing. It's gonna be a whole thing.
I love my cats.
Oh,
I
cats
love
are the
them.
best.
Yeah.
Oh, I love my dog so much, but I love cats too.
Oh, yeah. So two of my cats, I had two cats. They were brothers from the same litter and an American Mastiff. Got them all as babies that grew up together. Right. Obviously, the Mastiffs don't live that long. He actually made it to 14, which is good for an American Mastiff. And I lost him. And then I lost one of the brothers, one of the cats. So then we only have one cat left, and he's like severely depressed. So we got
Yeah,
him two more cats. And now,
yeah.
now they're happy.
I ended up running into a similar situation where I had at one point I had two cats, then three cats, then the one died, and I got another third cat, and then within like a couple of years later, within a month, two of them died off on me. And then I'm down to one cat, but she was happier than a pig in shit because she was originally out of doors, and so she just loved it for sure. And I love what Brandon says here. Chad is oozing integrity, respect. Of course, this is why we're friends. Um,
Yeah. Brandon's
I
a
don't.
rad dude too.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
Um, Brandon says I disagree with him on so many things, but who cares? He has integrity for days. Yeah,
and
fair
that's
enough.
and that's cool. I like that I don't have the same tastes as everybody that I'm, friends with or familiar with. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want everyone to be like, "Oh, we're all cookie cutter freaking robots." And
Right.
no, because
And
that's not what makes the world go around. I want to sit around and talk with somebody who like is all about freaking rock lords and be like, "Why are you so crazy on rock lords, man?" And just hear them like get so excited and exuberant, like, dude, the rock lords, like, look at them, they're rocks that become robots. I'm like, all
well,
right.
like I used to
I
have this
think you're
discussion.
dumb, but you're cool.
Yeah, I used to have this discussion with other people that were professional musicians when I was in that realm. I'm like, dude, I don't want you to like all the exact same bands and influences that I have because if I go over to your house and I look at your CD or your vinyl collection, why would I pull shit off the shelf to look at that I already fucking have? Like,
It's not interesting.
there's no enrichment coming from that, and that's how I learned to like different bands in a different way and stuff like that. Don't know more, don't knock my rock lords. JLS says, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, don't knock my rock lords, bro. Dude, JLS, are you gonna come on my show or what? I'm gonna beat you up, man. Like in the I'm gonna send you a bunch of messages. I'm sorry.
Allegedly, allegedly,
I'm gonna send you messages. That's what I
yes,
meant.
yes, exactly. Again, in the spirit of catching up, Matt Noon says that I mentioned that I have a kind of unfocused focus. What is it? And I'm going to come back to the question asked of you. So my unfocused focus is I started off with Superpowers Collection, Marvel Legends, and Motu. Those are my three toy lines that I wanted to start with. And what ended up happening was that as I'm waiting for certain deals on some things with the vintage stuff, or I'm waiting for waves to come out, or just having contact with more toy collectors and seeing things going like, ooh, what's that? Oh, it's kind of like when you're waiting for your food too long and you see someone else's food arrive, and you're like, oh, I should have ordered that. Well, with toy collecting, you can do that. You can just grab it. So I would just start getting stuff. People would send me stuff because they're like, do you remember this? You remember this? I remember. Stuff like that. So for me, it just kind of grew very organically. And I had a lot of well meaning pushers. And that's how I have more 1/18 scale now than I did. That's why I have more Star Wars stuff than I once did. And I am currently finding that if I want something, I get it. As we're both so fond of saying, if I want it, I get it, and I'll worry about the logistics of that later. Um, but I would say that my big uh, big loves are Superpowers Collection, Marvel Legends, and Motu for sure. And then I had a bunch of other shit too. So, and then the question that was
And
asked
that's
of you in
cool.
chat. Yeah, you enjoy it. You have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Says Chad, I've never heard why you collect mostly modern instead of O-ring. Is there a primary reason?
None of your business. No,
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
shots fired!
Hey,
Hey.
when I first got back into collecting, it's
Mhm.
when the modern runs were kind of firing on all cylinders. As an adult collector, everything I had from my childhood was gone, and I thought, well, they're GI Joe. They're still the same size, roughly, right? Yes, I know.
Mhm.
But there's something about the body construction that, and as I'm playing with my low light, the body construction, the added articulation, I just really liked, kind of the effort of it. And for as much as I like, I do have, I don't want to say a lot, but I have a good deal of O-ring figures,
Mhm.
especially pilots, drivers, like keel hull, things like that come with the vehicles and playsets. But I really, really liked the modern stuff. I liked that they all came with stands, removable knives, sidearms, things like that. I just thought it was an evolution into, not just the construction, but the presentation of GI Joe while still being in a world building scale. And I could kind of have the best of everything, so I can have all the vehicles from 82 through, whenever they stopped making vehicles, which technically wasn't until the Walmart retro run with the Hiss 3, the Ostriker, and the that new Fang. But I could still get all these new figures and then kind of fold in these other lines from the periphery, like Marauders and things like that. And in hindsight, I don't know which is better, because the moderns, even though they came out more recently, are not easier to find because they
Mm-mm.
weren't made in such quantity.
Nope.
And once you get to the very end of the San Diego Comic Con modern stuff and the figure subscription service and JoeCon stuff, one loose figure will run you like $300. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the very end of the modern stuff, and I don't want to spend $300 for a Bat version 2 squad leader. I don't want to spend $150 for a Crimson Guard Immortal. So that's the problem that I'm stuck in right now. And I don't regret it, but at the same time, I didn't realize that the stuff that was available now is that much more expensive.
Yeah, and like I just recently got one of these newer. I guess you call them 30th anniversary. I guess this is like a Walmart exclusive Cobra Trooper,
Yeah, we'll just
and
call them Walmart Retro. Yeah,
yeah, Walmart
because that's
Retro,
what they're.
and this was on Amazon. Someone was just hawking these off at $10 a pop, which considering aftermarket price, that's a deal. So I got two of them. And I was like, I'll give it a try, and I gotta say, I'm really impressed with it for what it is.
The
Because
head
compared
sculpt on
to
that figure is amazing.
yeah, he looks
It's
great,
amazing.
and he's got the hair and everything, and he does what he's supposed to do, and the artwork certainly calls back the retro. Like this is pretty cool,
You
and
know what else he has? Every single point of articulation that a 6-inch figure has.
yep,
Ankle rockers, the elbows, the knees, the whole 9 yards.
yeah, and
Every single point of articulation.
I put him next to my vintage Destro, and I'm like, this is better than that. Because the head on the Destro is big, but again, with the Destro, it makes sense because he's got the helmet on or whatever. Like I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it, but I gotta track me down a more modern, pretty much every character. Like I'm at that point. Like between having this experimentation and seeing the condition that my vintage figures are in and being scared to death to snap them apart, it just
Yeah.
makes more sense to get some of these, and they're not unattainable. They're not crazy expensive relative to their durability.
Those were at Ross for $3.99.
Really?
All of them. So the last two waves were Stalker, the Cobra Trooper. That was wave, I want to say 4, maybe it was 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Don't quote me. I'm not an expert, right? I'm an enthusiast.
There is a
So
difference.
but the last two waves were, one of the waves was Stalker and the Cobra Trooper, and then the final wave was Grunt and the Cobra Officer. And for a while, as soon as Hasbro said they were going to discontinue them, Walmart had them all on sale for $5 each, but you could only get 5 per order. Full disclosure, if you look back here on this wooden shelf with, you see all these little white tags on this entire shelf,
Yeah.
that's all those figures are.
Nice.
I got
Nice.
200. 200. I got so many of them. Yeah, and like all my shelves are full of armies of them. They're
That's
just
great.
everywhere. Yeah. I,
And
I went nuts for them. I love them.
it's very much a if I knew then what I know now situation. Had I because the thing is, someone had asked me one other time why I wasn't collecting Joe prior to like 6 months ago. And although I had a handful of figures and whatnot, it really came down to accessibility. Um, it's like if I want to collect Joe at the level that I want to collect it, it was like, well, I have to kind of stop collecting 3 or 4 different lines to be able to budget out, what I would want. Now, as people are about to see here in just a few short moments, that is starting to really that gap is getting really narrow, and I have less and less excuses, especially with the 3D printing support. They make all the vehicles; you can scale them perfectly. Sometimes they're
Oh,
better than the originals. Sometimes they're just like the originals, and it's like, okay, I have nothing to complain about, and I have no excuses, especially once I get that Mamma Jamma over here. Let's go. And
yeah.
now, just Jeff says, all I know is I was not on board with 118th, then shithead Chad, and I talked about Resolute, and then he told me that they made those toys in a small quantity. Now I collect 118 scale Joes. Yeah, my Chad was Bill Wifta, who sent me an Insta collection of those retro cases. You see them right there over my shoulder. Um,
Yep.
like that was look. I don't have any, shall we say, biological responses to toys. If you read between the lines, that was the closest I ever got. It's pretty crazy. I was like, "What?" It was
You were
pretty
like,
nuts.
ooh, toys. Yeah.
Oh my god!
I just Jeff and I, we were talking about 118 scale stuff, and he asked me, I don't remember how we got to it, and I was like, look at the G.I. Joe Resolute Cobra Commander. Look
Yeah.
at that figure. And then you're going to get down the rabbit hole. Look at that Baroness. Then, like,
Mm-hmm.
look at the Roadblock, look at the Gung Ho, look at the Duke, on and on. And it's just, they're so good. Yeah. Resolute was a complete ball dropping moment on Hasbro's part.
It was really. I was very, very impressed with what I saw in the media of it. I
Yeah.
haven't really looked into the toys, but what I have seen was just like, geez, it's very, it's jaw dropping that they put that much into it. Which but emerging brand, right? Um,
It's, look, Hasbro isn't even on their investor sheet of brands. It's not even on there. I'm going to
it's
get that
crazy.
Cobra Commander.
Go for it. And Master Versal, while I'm waiting, I just want to say I do see you. I love you, sir. Good to see you.
Master Versal Toy Hunter is so cool. He just sent me a septic hiss. Look
Oh,
at
that's
this
awesome.
guy.
Jeez,
Look at how rad he is.
that is arguably like a perfect sculpt.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Like,
Does he
oh.
have a scabbard for this? Yeah, he does. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's market rate on him right now? Do you know?
No, I bet you just Jeff could say, but it's reasonable.
Cool. Yeah,
But yeah,
because
he's so good.
when I saw the Haya Toys Cobra Commander, I was like, oh. Um,
Apro Studios designed that Cobra Commander. He and I were talking about it, and that was the first one that he did for Haya, and that's why that Cobra Commander doesn't look like just a straight classified, port to a 4-inch scale. Like all the other Haya 4-inch Joes just look like their classified version.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Cobra Commander is completely different. So yeah, Apro Studios, they told him like, do whatever you want. Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I ordered him. I did.
Speaking of awesome, we now get into the third and final portion of our show, guys. I did not intend to go anywhere near this long, but Chad and I have a habit of just getting to talking. So,
Yeah,
not
that's
that I
fun.
want to rush through anything, but I do want to get through this with some quickness because a man deserves to live his life, and so do I. So, I got some stuff. Not to show off, but I want to share with you guys. So, for those of you that seen some of my unboxing videos, you might recall that Billy Wifta sent me a bunch of G.I. Joe stuff as we have discussed in the past. Well, one of the things he sent was an incomplete G.I. Joe headquarters. And I don't know G.I. Joe headquarters from Adam as far as what parts are what. I know what it's supposed to look like when it's done. I know that I always wanted one as a kid. But now I have parts, and I don't know what I need and what I don't need. Now, so we're going to actually open all this up, to some degree, anyway, and try to get a feel for what we've got our hands on. So I've got the helipad with good intact stickers, it looks like.
Good.
Beautiful piece. And we're just going to try and figure out what I'm actually missing.
Yep.
Because that's important. Helipad, good. And then he made this custom like background with like a swinging door.
Sweet.
Little paper goods thing. It's fun. So let's see what else we got here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat stuff. Okay.
World made of cardboard's like, yeah. Cardboard.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he is beside himself.
There he is. He just said it. Cardboard.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that one Monty Python sketch where they get the translation wrong. Ooh, my nipples explode with delight.
Yeah.
I think this is an indoor piece. I want to say.
That's the it's the front. So
Okay.
look right here. You can see here.
Okay.
I can't. It goes right here, right underneath this front
Okay.
piece.
So it is interior, but it's towards the front.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
And that little squeak of plastic on another hard thing. For some people, it probably sounds like fingernails on chalkboard, but to me, that's like a sound of joy.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Saw a newsprint in here, which I forgot. I probably should have taken all this newsprint out of here before we started, huh? All right, we're getting into a much larger piece of things now, and this I think is.
I like going through old boxes of toys, and then you pull out the newspaper and read the date. It's like 1992.
Well, these were recently packed, so it wouldn't be that much fun.
Man.
Okay. So this is definitely significantly incomplete. I think the whole outer shell is like the outer bit, from what I can see here. Which is, he did warn me about that. So I've got a few pieces here that go to this, I believe. I want to show you what's together, and then we'll kind of figure out the rest. So we've got this 4-piece here, which is your jail cell, and I've got another piece of the jail here. I'm guessing it goes...
Nope, side.
The side? Like this?
The side. Yep.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. And then we got...
The front is 2 little miniature. Yep. And then there's the door. Yeah.
Yeah, there's these 2. Or wait, no.
Yep.
Oh, right,
yeah, you're going to have a left and a right. Because they, yep.
And then the door.
Ooh, as long as you got the door with tabs, you're good. Yeah.
The door... Actually, it looks like it's okay. That top is not rubbed. That tab
Nice.
is good. I think we're in good shape there. Very
Sweet.
impressive.
Yeah, it's just a little
Then-
friction door. It's not a big deal.
Then this guy goes right here, I'd guess.
Yep. That's
And
the
then
little
these-
command center, and there should be a flip up portion of that.
I do not have that. Unless
Okay.
this is
What is that? A chair?
What?
Oh no, that's that. So that first gray piece that you held up.
It's a cover for the turbines.
Yep. Yep.
And yes, I have the 2 chairs that go
Cool.
right here. But that's everything I have apparently. So.
Why is Brandon telling me easy? What did I do?
What's that?
Brandon said, "Whoa, easy, Tiger." What did I do? I didn't do anything.
I don't know. Yeah, that's not everything, guys. Because we had talked about this before. I needed to get this stuff out of that damn box because it'd be easier to store otherwise. This was a good excuse to do that. So we're good there. But that's not the coolest thing we have to look at, guys.
World's
Yes,
made of
keep-
cardboard.
Okay, I'll come back around. Toy community is the best, says Keith. Pulled me out of a huge black hole some years back. PTSD and social anxiety disorder due to injury on duty ended my career. Toys keep me alive. Definitely, dude. I totally get that.
100%. 100%. I cannot relate to that more. I never talk about my stuff. Yep. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Very good. So World Made of Cardboard, I believe this is the comment you were going for. Never had the headquarters. Did you say the helipad could be the roof of the holding cell?
Yeah, it's the roof of the whole central part of the command center. When it's complete, and I can show you based off the Mark Belomo guide actually. When it's complete, if you look right here, you have to take the antenna off because the antenna is higher than the rest of it, and the helipad sits right over all of this. So yeah, it just sits on it as a roof.
Even though
Sure
most
does.
people, in my experience, would have it off to the side just because it was easier to play.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know a guy named Joey Ricondo, don't you? A lot of people know Joey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know Joe. Joe's the one who gave me my skid mark.
If
So
I didn't know,
when we
I
left
didn't.
Joe Fest this year, right? He put this figure under my windshield wiper and said, "I know you have a long drive by yourself. I wanted you to have a co-pilot." And so that sentiment was so nice. Now, whenever I go on a road trip, I take Skidmark with me. So, like the kiddo and I went to Disneyland on a real quick like turn and burn, and I took Skidmark with me, and yeah, I do know
So,
Joe. Yeah, he's good people.
I have me a box from Joe Ricondo.
Ooh.
He and I were having some discussions, and he was like, "Well, dude, let me send you some stuff." I was like, "Okay." So first, this is one of the things I do know that's in here. This is a baggie of vintage Joe brochures and catalogs. I am a huge mark for this crap.
Me too.
This one's an 87, I want to say, because you see the Defiant on it. This one would be 85, 86-ish in there, I think? Because of the lineup?
87.
87, okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm looking at two screens at the same time, and the YouTube is behind what we're doing.
No, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So Defiant's 87. I would say that this
Yes.
one is
Yeah,
probably
that's what I was
85,
looking at.
86.
That's 85, right?
Yeah.
Quick Kick and all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lady J and so forth. And this one, this is an oldie because it's got the Rattler and Mobat and shit in it. This is a vintage one. So that's super cool. But no, he did not just send these in this gigantic fucking box. And I like waiting to open stuff, so everything's a surprise. Let's see.
That's
here.
cool.
This here is a piece of a Havoc.
Yep.
I believe that there's most of a Havoc in here. Spoilers.
I love the Havoc. I know people
Oh,
like to rip on that vehicle, but
it was one of my
that's
favorites as a
when
kid.
Joe was at its biggest when the Havoc came out.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I had one as a kid. I loved it. Had a big stand moment. So yeah, we got a most of a Havoc shell here. We've got the little scooter guy. Missing some tread covers. I've got a canopy here that I'm going to have to do some TLC to wash, but it's there. It'll do the job. The gerb, if you will. So I believe we've got the other. Oh, these are both of them. Got both sides.
Yep.
So it's pretty much there. Let's see what else is in here. Of course, he knows how to pack his stuff, dude. Because he took everything apart rather than just putting it together and wrapping it up. Because here's your turret.
Out of context, that's a really weird statement.
I didn't say pack fudge. I said pack shit. There's a difference. There's a difference. So,
Hey, speaking of surprises in here, Bjorn just got here.
Ben at work just got off. yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes. Okay. Always thought the Havoc driver just sitting out in the open. I always thought the driver was underneath the canopy and then the gunner was on top, although they always depicted him as driving it from the turret, which I didn't. I just didn't. From a tactical perspective, it made no sense.
I'm gonna actually it.
Okay, please do.
They can drive the vehicle from either position.
That's what I figured.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but in the cartoon,
Either lying in the
always...
prone in the cockpit or from the gunner seat on the top, because all throughout the comics and the Sunbow animation, you see them do both. It's just the chucklehead in the little recon vehicle who's facing backwards. That's the guy who's like doing his own thing. Yeah.
Right. Got a stun, right?
I love that vehicle.
Me too. I never had one as a kid. And there, a couple covers to print, some flags, the tanks in the back, I think.
Yep.
But it's a good specimen. It's in good shape.
Oh yeah, that's in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you need are you need some covers, 2 flags, and then the little gunner's position in the back, and you're rocking.
I like that. I like the way that sounds. Yeah. What else we got here? Oh shit! Looks like we got an O-ring Firefly.
Sure do. With a file card.
Yeah, that's awesome. See,
that's another thing about the modern figures. They didn't have that 5 language crap on their file cards.
No.
No.
Good stuff. All right, what else we got here? I am. Oh shit. Okay. Now we're getting into weeds here. So we've got some seemingly random parts here. Some of them I think go together. Some of them don't. We got some tread pieces here.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, you can pin my camera if you want to see it better. It's still small.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So I got 2 of them. I do not recognize this. Is this maybe for the Snowcat?
No, I don't. That's not Snowcat. It might be. It's this piece right here, Jim.
Oh, I got you. Okay, that makes sense. Then you got this, which
Scoot it over a little.
yeah, it's a weird little piece. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And it also has, I'm guessing, this also goes to it. This little cover with a hose. It's the same color as this other stuff. Orange. But I don't know.
Yeah. You know, when you have so much stuff, I'm sure you know how it is. Like
I
you're
do.
like, oh, I've seen that, and then you walk away and you're just lost.
Right.
Um,
And we got a pretty good looking Serpentor Sky Sled.
yeah, that air chariot's fun. Is that
Yeah.
a modern or an original?
Good question.
Does the mouth open?
Ah, there's no Cobra head on it. But let me check
Well,
this.
darn.
Let me check the
So,
copyright stamp. That'll be the real test, huh?
yeah. World Made of
Ooh.
Cardboard thinks that's a Starcom part.
This isn't.
That
This
other thing you
isn't.
held up.
This isn't a vintage. This is '88.
Okay.
Which awesome. I dig this. I know Joe's gonna watch this overnight when he's doing work, and thank you. Cannot thank you enough for this haul. This
Yeah.
is cool.
Joe's good people.
Oh, he's the best. I love him to death. We
Yep.
we talk
Me too.
every couple days, and every time I learn something new.
Does he send you voice messages from the truck?
Yes,
He
yes,
sends me
yes.
voice messages. Yeah.
And I feel obligated to send voice messages back. You know, because I just want to make it accessible for him. And he's the only person I really do that with.
Ooh, you got a thunder machine.
Mm-hmm. There's a
Nice.
couple. Some of the back parts I think are missing. I think there's like a cover here on the back.
Yeah,
edge
you're
of it.
missing the driver's side, the armor.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's not that
Yeah.
much. I mean,
No,
it's
that's not that much at all.
that's definitely a Marauder. You know.
I mean, it has the cage on the front and it has the guns, so you're good.
Absolutely. Starcom part that makes. What is this? Uh-oh. Something in the bottom looks pretty big. Oh. Okay, this is
That's
what
what she
started the
said.
whole conversation. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
what started
buddy.
the whole conversation. He's like, you don't have this? Dude, I never had this as a kid. This is fucking huge. There's a few parts in here. I mean, this is... Damn.
Dude, if you're getting a printer, just
Yeah.
pull all those STL files and just
Already
print
did.
all that shit.
Already,
You already did?
Yeah,
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Already pulled all the files. I'm ready to go. Man. Yeah,
So
the whale...
this is I'm not stealing your thunder, right? But the toy show that the ma'am and I are going to go to on Saturday,
Yeah.
when we went last year, she got me this.
Is that the... Oh, that's the Night Force whale.
It's the Toys R Us Night Striker, yeah.
Nice.
And I have been over the past, I guess, year, I have been collecting all of the parts. It has the side glass, it has the top glass. That's really all you need. Like I got the door. I found the fan shrouds at Joe Fest. James Hitchcock had them. He was the only person that had them, and they were expensive, like super expensive, but not a single broken tab on the shrouds. I'm almost ready to do my restoration on this. So, dude, that's so rad that you got a whale. It's so cool.
It really is.
Fantastic vehicle.
Yeah, and Joe was like, "Do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need this?" And he just, I told him that the Havoc was one of my favorites as a kid, and so he said, "I'll get you one of them." And I've got a good whale shell, and it is in really good shape. And like you said, all of these parts are easily 3D printed, all of them. And like for example, this whole back assembly of the fans. I would argue that with the right settings, you could print parts that are more durable than the original and function better. And I'm not one of those. I'm clearly not one of those guys that are like, "Ugh, it's gotta be all original." I'm like, does it look like the thing or not? You know.
So my whale, and yes, kids, modern figures fit into a whale. These are repro veins. So my original veins are good. I took them off.
Right.
And I put repro veins on it. Just like with all of my vehicles with tow cables, they're all repro tow cables. Because If this is going to get smacked or beat up or something, then that's fine. But the repro ones are sturdy. They're super sturdy.
Yeah,
So I love them.
it's something that I think you have to. I think there's a point where you have to say what's more important, longevity or you know integrity in big quotes. It's like
Yeah,
who cares? Because
and
again,
yeah,
my toys, I'm not reselling these. I'm not purporting that these are 100% original. I'm just completing
yeah,
stuff that I want,
right.
and I should be allowed to do that.
And I would rather have something that has reproduction parts or is 70% complete, have it in my collection, work on completing it, source the parts, get them 3D printed, whatever, than not have the item at all.
Exactly.
To me, it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, if it's not 100%, I don't want it. It's like, okay,
No,
whatever. Like
no,
it's a
it's
representation of the vehicle that I had as a kid. That's all it is. That's it. You know.
and 5-year-old me right now, 6-year-old me, 7-year-old me, 8-year-old me, 9-year-old me is just like, dude, like this is so cool, and I can't wait to go from this to that.
And how much did you play with this as a kid? Like everybody went nuts over this vehicle as a
Yeah, my
kid.
buddy had one, and I would always just depth charges, this, that, the other things, everything, muscles, rah, rah. Like,
Launch the sled. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's toyetic as a motherfucker, and it's just beautiful. Um, deep, 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 deep. And James
Yeah,
Lucas
they don't
says,
make them like that anymore.
no, they do not. Yeah, I've already picked it out based on I'm a newbie, James. I wanted to get something that is reliable, and I can always upgrade to something later if I really want to. Uh, Probably either I'm hoping we'll be able to get it before Christmas, so I can just after Christmas just start working on stuff. But it all depends. We got to do some other things first. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Romeo Corbett says my wife remembered Chad showing those fan shrouds off at Joe Fest. Okay.
Yep. Yep. I
Nice.
actually bought an Action Sailor lunchbox. So the original metal Action Sailor lunchbox, just so I could put the fan shrouds in there and keep them from getting squished.
Right on.
So yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That was my
Roman,
one big thing. I was like, I need those shrouds, and so I went after them.
you got to get them. Romeo
Yeah.
Corbett asks how we keep dust off of our toys you play with use regularly. In my case, I would say that I'm lucky that there's not a ton of dust in this room. Not a ton, but there is some. And what I tend to do is anytime I move something, if I have the time, I just got a little makeup brush that I use and I just brush it real quick. Rather than having this whole like this is true of any kind of cleaning one does for anything, but in collecting especially, I think it's important. If you clean as you go, you never have to take to task the cleaning, because otherwise, in a room like what Chad's got there, like that would be a whole day proposition. And come on, do we really think that Chad, at his station in life, wants to be sitting there with a fucking horsehair duster going? No, I don't think so.
No, sir.
That's right.
My big challenge is that this is a garage, and even though it's, I sealed up the door and the whole 9 yards, and the garage door is disconnected, it's still a garage.
Yeah,
So that's kind of a challenge that I run into in the summer when I'm running the climate control. I generally have this door to the laundry room open, and so the cats are coming in and out.
right.
They'll track their freaking litter in here. I have one cat that was abused, and so every once in a while she gets stressed and she starts pulling her hair out. So I'm cleaning this room often. I vacuum it a lot, just like you, Jim. I have makeup brushes. I also use toothbrushes,
Yeah,
and so sometimes like I'll just hit something with a toothbrush. And I have the canned air, the compressed air.
that's
So if
good.
it's something that's not like a shelf of figures, you're not going to go on a shelf of figures because they're all going to fall over. But like vehicles, yeah, I'll walk by and hit vehicles with that compressed air.
Another secret weapon that I have because I've never liked the idea of putting a toy in a sink, especially if it has stickers on it. So what I do instead to be a bit more targeted with it is, you guys are gonna laugh at me, but dude wipes, because they're big, big wipe, and they don't have all the corrosive chemicals that your
Yep.
cleaning wipes have. They're real
Yep.
soft because they're meant for your asshole. So they're real sturdy. Exactly for your asshole. But I use those a lot for like larger things. So if I'm like wiping down a place that, or even,
Yeah.
honestly, even a box, because if you just wipe it once and then just take a paper towel, dry it off, it's not going to do any damage. Um, you got to get creative with this stuff. Otherwise, or just be happy with dust. One of the things I'm eventually going to do when the manufacturers pull their head out of their ass, I'm going to get some really, really thin plexiglass and magnetize it to all the shelves, which will take a significant portion of my dust management off my plate. Also, will protect
Yeah.
me from cats and dogs and
Yep.
spouses, because she's clumsier than I am, and she'll be the first one to admit it. But that is how I do that.
Yeah, in encasing collections is like that's that highest echelon of display. Like everything's encased. They're either in like you know detofs or whatever or glass cabinets, and the, there is a chinet in the entryway of our house in like our foyer. We have this old
Mm-hmm.
school chinet with the glass doors and the lights. I have like my most I don't necessarily want to say prized, but maybe like rare. So the keel haul that came with my flag with his gun is in one of those little figure tubes, and he's in there.
Right.
Um, the only Star Wars figure that I have, talking like original Kenner, is a Man, and I have him in a tube in there, and a couple other really rare pieces are in the Chinet. Everything else is just it's out. I put my hands on my toys all the time, so
Yeah,
I
and
generally
that's
keep them
something
dust.
where, what I'm probably going to end up doing, as long as I get the magnets that are strong enough. It's not going to be whole sheets for the whole shelf. I have one per shelf, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the
Smart.
idea being that you can just pull it off, do what you got to do, put it back. Um, and the main reason I'm doing it that way, and it's not just the pet wife proof and crap.
Yeah.
It's the thin plexiglass, and it reminds me of those ad hoc diorama displays we'd see at Toys R Us and Children's Palace. Where it'd be like
Yes.
in a
Yep.
fish tank.
That the
And
distributor would come set up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And you had told me a story about that, about the guy who would go around to all the different tri-state. I think it was tri-state, upstate New York. I think
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Tri-state.
Um,
Yeah.
and I always, um, that's one of my fondest toy memories. It was like a living toy catalog. It was fucking great. I just love the shit so much. Um, with the dude wipe. That's what Chad cleans his skid mark with. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Look at. See, nice and clean.
It's
There you
very
go.
clean.
Oh, his crotch is busted. I just noticed that.
Well,
Damn it, skid mark. You blew your crotch out.
little milliput, little paint, be fine.
You know
Ain't
what?
not gonna-
It's good. It builds character.
he's battle damaged. He's
He
a
is.
wounded warrior.
Once I get retired and we get I don't know if we're going to stay, because this is military housing. And even though the
Sure.
MAM's still military, I don't know if we're going to stay here. But um, at some point, my common boards and cinder blocks will no longer be, what, 50, 60% of my display solutions because I have to be mindful of PCS moves and how much space and weight I take up. So I sell the cinder blocks to like some reject neighbor who wants to build like a fire pit and then I just move and buy new ones. They're like $1.50 each. They're not expensive.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it's a solution for now. But when the time comes that both you and the ma'am are retired, which it wouldn't be too long from now, I would presume,
No.
that's when you start saying, okay, let's look at permanence. Where do we want to end up? What do we do? And then you would start looking at this stuff. Like this is all stopgap for me as well. Like this display is built for this room,
Mhm.
but one of the things that I'm going to be starting doing probably around spring is start buying more of these shelving units in flat pack and just storing them unassembled. Because when I do get to a larger garage space like that, we've talked about this, where I want to have like the library shelves. or like almost a toy
Yeah.
aisle kind of a vibe.
Yep. Yep.
And it'll be really cool. The big question becomes like, where do I sit? And I think I've come to a decision on that. I think the coolest look for that would be to sit in a corner so you have like almost an isometric perspective on everything.
Yeah.
Um, that would probably be the only way to do it. Or set up workstations in multiple corners. And this is where you get really overcomplicated because this is the kind of guy
Yeah.
that I am. Because I don't like moving things. I like to flip switches and do what I want. So
Yep.
right now I'm sitting at a desk that has two desks put together for L shape. I got 4 monitors right here, and I'm super happy. These monitors are not expensive. They're about $100 a pop, and they're worth every penny. And I use them all. But what if I had that same setup in 3 corners with a keyboard and a mouse? I used a KVM switch. For those of you who don't know, that's a switch where
Mm,
you can switch monitors and keyboard and mouse that you're using. It's typically used for servers. But how
yeah.
cool would it be to do a show or a video from different corners of the room to keep it fresh? I don't know. I'm just spitballing at this point.
So this desk, when I first set this room up, I didn't really envision my background being this
Right.
because it's literally like, well, half the room, right? You see all of
Right.
2 walls. You don't see the wall that's obviously behind my camera, and you don't see this far wall over here.
Right.
But I originally didn't want it like this. I kind of thought like, so my monitors are up on floating shelves right
Mm-hmm.
here, and my camera is attached to my desk. So if I wanted to, my my tower is it's in one of those cradles under the desk. I could just pull the desk and take it anywhere I wanted in this room.
Yeah, and that's one
And
of the
I
coolest
was
things
I
about it.
was like, "Oh, I could do that. I could turn everything." But then I'd have to take the monitors off the floating shelf and I'd have to put it on arms off the desk. It's still doable, but I
And it's
don't know how
inexpensive.
crazy I want to get, at this
Well,
point.
I kind of feel like, and I've kind of been thinking about it from a few different perspectives. Recently, we just turned our whole bedroom 90 degrees, and just because I there's the depth of the room, it just makes more sense for us.
Right.
And I was like, okay, we're gonna take our second TV we haven't been using and put it up. But then with the space we reclaimed, it didn't make sense to put it on like a TV stand. I'm like, there's gotta be a better way, right? Like a made for TV shit. Um, but what I found on Amazon for like 30, 35 bucks was this metal steel pole thing. So you've got like an X at the bottom, where in the front it's a longer X. It has a pole going straight up with one shelf, and then it VESA mounts your TV to that. So you've got this really low footprint, perfect height for a bedroom or a classroom or whatever. And what's awesome is that because of the way that I got zip ties, got zip ties for everything. Zip tied
Oh yeah.
all the power cords to it. I've got one very small footprint power strip there. And I've got one plug that powers everything. So if I want to move that anywhere in the house, even out on my patio if I wanted to, just unplug it, pull it out, plug it back in, and we're good. So I did start thinking like, ooh, what if I built a custom platform for my desk and put wheels on it and did that same thing? But then I realized how much weight is actually on this desk, and I said that's impossible.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it would be almost as much of an investment as just buying the KVM switch and all that shit. So
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
you get to a certain point. It's kind of like I remember when Metallica toured on the Black album, and Lars had 2 drum sets, and they were on like these big fucking train tracks that could move around the stage and shit. And I was like, that's cool. It's a different kind of show, but as a drummer, it's like, do you really need that?
No, you don't.
And then and
You
then 20
don't.
and then no, like 12 years later, Joey Jordison, when he was in Slipknot, does something similar, but instead of it going around the stage, he's got a cage like Tommy Lee, but he's on this circle. So his drum riser goes up, it would go like this, it would rotate while he's inverted, Top Gun style. And it was like, I understand the spectacle of that and why it's a good showmanship move.
Mhm.
But from a drummer or any kind of operator frame of mind, I say if you have to go to that level of flashiness to show your skill, maybe just practice more. Now, Joey's a great drummer. May he rest in peace. He didn't need that. Whosever idea that was, they just had a lot of money and were probably doing a lot of coke at the time.
Or bored.
Oh
Bored.
yeah, yeah. Patrick also, before I get too far off, wants to make sure you share some slides of that cabinet in your tour videos with your China cabinet. I think it's a good idea.
I got something else in that China that just blows people's minds when they see it. It is an original mock-up, original of the Lunar Excursion Module from NASA.
Oh damn!
Yeah, it's an
That's crazy.
original LEM mock-up. That
See,
thing.
now you have to put it in the video because no one's gonna let you rest on that one.
I could, yeah,
But you know,
you put it in one of them.
Where my cardboard says, but after retirement, Chad will be called in the middle of the night. You have been reactivated. We have a job for you and your certain set of skills. Your contact, Grindhead, will be your eyes. Well, that's why he's got to be mobile, right?
Yep.
I thought that was inferred.
I mean, that's
Clearly,
why I do car rent.
Clearly, some of these people have never had a clearance before.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So with that said, we've been going for over 2.5 hours, and
It went fast.
It really did. And I was like, "Welcome to the show." Oh yeah, here's all this stuff. All right, bye.
I was like, "Oh yeah, we looked at some weird cheese grater, didn't we?" That was a long time ago.
We did.
We did.
But this was a really fun, multifaceted conversation, and I know from experience, unless we say we're done, we can talk forever. We're those kind of guys.
Yeah.
And that
went,
just means
3.5 hours when you were on my channel? Almost 4?
It was 4.
There you go.
I was watching it today, and I was looking at the time code, and there was a bunch of chapters, and it just peters out after the first or second hour. It says aircraft. Like we're talking about the and then it's like the last 3 hours of the stream are supposedly about aircraft.
I gotta go back and rewatch that. Then I didn't know it did that. That's
just
cool.
Look at the chapters. It's fucking hilarious to me, because I'm like, and I just kind of like we didn't talk about aircraft for 3 fucking hours.
I didn't put chapters in it. That must have been YouTube. Like, yeah, we're gonna break this up. We're gonna break this up a little bit.
It tries to do that, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it is not. So I do think that we definitely need to make this not necessarily a more regular, like every month thing, but I think that we should have more of these talks because clearly people enjoy them. I enjoy them, and I hope you'd be on board for that. Cool, man.
Totally down. Absolutely.
As for the rest of you there in chat, hey man, we love you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for the super chats, your enthusiasm, great questions. And at the end of the day, like, look, may all your grinds be merry. May all your card backs be straight. May you be able to get anything you're looking for at any given time at a price you feel is reasonable. And if you haven't checked out It's Chad, you're wrong. Link in the description. Check him out. You will not regret it. Anything left to say for anybody at home?
Chad? Wednesday night, I have the maestro of G.I. Joe himself, Kirk Bazigian, on, and we're going to get into all sorts of stuff.
I will be there in spirit and in chat. I may not say anything. I'm a stealth watcher. Like I don't normally rear my head in chat. People don't know that. I watch almost everything.
Yeah, I lurk a lot too. Every once in a while, I'll just jump in and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And then like I won't ever say anything again. But yeah,
right. But in any case, guys, keep being good people. Keep asking questions, and have fun. And if you're not, change something. All right?
Yeah.
Chad, thanks for being here. We'll see y'all soon. Take care. We're out of here.
Have an awesome day.
Yay, yay.
Yeah.